everybody. Welcome to the Player's Take, episode 282. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined, as always, by my co-host, Montrell Rice. Montrell, how are you this week?
I am stressed out.
Man,
stressed out.
always negative every time, every week,
Hey
Montrell.
man,
Every
it's my
single week,
it's my
every
job,
time I
man.
ask you, and you're always negative. You're tired, you're sad, you're upset. What are they doing to you, man? What are they doing?
Working me too hard, man. That's what
you
they're
to the
doing.
bone.
Yeah.
I mean, what's happening over there? Are they just like, are people leaving and they're not hiring, replacements or something?
No,
Or
it's just too much work. A lot of work's coming in and like not the last minute, but just everything just coming together at one point. And on
Sounds
top of that, I'm
familiar.
picking up the slack for a teammate. Not for any particular reason. Like they actually have something going on with them, so I have to kind of pick up their slack as well.
Yeah.
And I gotta like double check my stuff because it's like I don't have anybody watching my back pretty much. So, I don't know. And on top of that, that whole we were affected by the CrowdStrike thing. So over the last week, we were dealing with that. That happened over this past weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and I just realized I had 3 months without a vacation. And if you want to count that terrible flight back to Detroit a vacation, then if you don't want to count that because it was actually fucking terrible from visiting family to me getting sick there, and I was sick the entire fucking time there. I haven't had a vacation since March or since January. Or since my birthday actually, which was in February. So I am taking a vacation in the middle of August. I'm not going anywhere. Well, I may go to a cabin or something like that at the beginning half of the week, and then the later half of the week I'm going to probably just go to the range and then chill out or something like that, barbecue or some shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, so I just need to get away from my job. Love my job, but they are working me to the bone, and I am sick of it. So
Well, take that vacation, get your head clear. It's always important. 5 months is a long time to not take any time off either. So
yeah, like I said, I don't really count the time I went to go see my family because it was a highly stressed time to be there. So I did not vacate at all when I was out there. So yeah, I don't know.
Word. Well, I have some fun news on my side of things. You know that cat I texted you guys about a couple weeks ago? My mom adopted it today.
Nice.
So,
she's a cat person? I didn't know she was a cat person.
She hasn't had a cat since she was a kid, actually, but she loves our cat though, Miss Kitty, and every time she comes over, she wants to like play with her and pet her and stuff, and so I've been trying to encourage her to get one for like a couple years now, really, and she just won't do it. Like she's being really hard headed about it. She's like, "Oh, I'm not ready for it. I'm not ready for it." I'm like, "What do you mean you're not ready for it? It's a cat. Like you just have to put water in the water bowl, food in the food bowl, and you clean the poop out of the litter box. Like there's not a whole lot else that is like essential to having a cat."
You spend extra money, you don't have to clean the poop out of the poop.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Same with the food. You don't even like, automatic pet feeder or a feeder or whatever. It's really, like even the water, you can do like a water fountain. They fucking make those now. You like you barely have to, if you really don't want to be lazy, you can with a cat,
Yeah.
which opens you up to, spend time with the cat, play with it, clip its nails, do those kind of brush it, those kind of things. But, so she's been really hard headed about it. But, when we brought this cat in, a couple weeks ago, and we let it stay with us for a night, and then we brought it to a shelter the next day. But we took a bunch of pictures, and she was really friendly. The cat was really friendly with us. Like she was playing with us and purring and like loving us and everything, and she just seemed like really happy and sweet. So I was like, this cat is perfect for my mom. This is exactly what she's looking for, like a cat that will be like really friendly, and playful and cuddly and stuff. So I was like, I called her that day before we went to the shelter, and I was trying to get her to take it then, and she just was being really stubborn and wouldn't do it. So a couple weeks passed though. The cats, in the shelter, they're like doing checkups on her and stuff. Um, they were taking care of a couple things. She had like fleas, small, not a lot, but like there were a little bit of fleas on her and stuff. So they had to
Mhm.
take care of that stuff. But they finally put her out earlier this week up for adoption. And I was like, fuck, man, like we really, I don't want her to get adopted by somebody else. I want my mom to go see her. So Amanda just went with her earlier today, and you know, it happened. She adopted her. She's in her house right now. So I'm just really excited. I'm happy. And my mom needed she's been alone since my dad passed away 5 years ago, and it's like
Mhm.
she kind of needs something like this. I feel like I can't be there all the time, so I feel like she needs something to talk to and interact with, which is good. So I'm excited about that. And the cat's really nice too. It's like a really nice cat, so I think it's a good situation. I'm happy about it, so it's good. Um, yeah. Outside of that, I'm having similar things with work, I guess, as you are. Just, I guess my problems more bear from the fact that like there's always been too much work to do. That's not new, but the issue is like I'm like losing people, and they're not letting me fill those spots with like letting me hire people into those spots. So it's just like the work that was there for 5 people is now there for 4 people, and then I have another team in that case where it's 2 people, and they're really not letting me hire somebody to fill the person who's leaving soon.
Mhm.
So and that's gonna go down to one person and me, basically. So it's like I'm gonna have to pick up some of the slack. And we might be bringing somebody else in from a different team, but I'm not really sure they're gonna be like full time, you know, taking that slot. So it's like it's just it is what it is, man. It's stressing me out, but um, what does it matter? It's just a job at the end of the day. Just gotta go in and do it and come home, and then I get to actually enjoy life. So um, that's where I'm at with that. But so yeah. Otherwise, life's pretty good. I'm gonna be going on another trip in August. So we'll need to talk about that. But I'm gonna be gone from the 18th through the 22nd, something like that, for work again. So
Okay.
yeah, you may be doing another solo episode that week, or maybe we'll bring DJ in again. But yeah, so but then I am going to be going in October. We're planning to go to Florida, go to Universal Studios and Disney, maybe on like a nice trip, like actually do like a nice, fun, big planned vacation. So got that to look forward to too.
Nice.
So yeah, man, cool. All right, enough dilly dallying. Let's get into the show proper here. For those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app of choice. And if you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. All right, Montrell. Let's start the show like we always do with what we've been playing. Do you want to go first this week, or would you like me to?
You can go first.
All right. Not much has changed here. My game list is exactly the same as it was last week. Just been playing League. We're playing a little bit more often than we had been. We're starting to play ranked a little bit. Now that Jet's back, we're kind of back in norms again, which I'm kind of like, I kind of want to go back into ranked, man. I don't know. It's like the difference in tone and tenor of norms versus ranked is just so extreme. And I really prefer ranked. Like I kind of just want to be a sweat, like
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like norms just feels like everybody's just fucking off, like nobody's paying attention, nobody cares. Everybody's playing their off characters, it's just I don't know. So when I like play my main champ, I like feel bad because there's some of these games where it just gets completely out of control and it's so boring. It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's like too easy, but it feels that way sometimes. It's like me and Jet just fucking steamroll bottom, and it's like a joke.
Yeah,
So
unfortunately their rank flex is not like the matchmaking is so long. We stayed in there one time. We tried to do it, and it was what 10 minutes we were in there.
it was bad. Yeah, it was pretty
Uh,
bad. Yeah. So we're kind of in an awkward middle ground with it right now because only three of us want to play. And Brad was talking about doing fives with us with his brother or something, but that's not coming together right now because Brad doesn't have a computer at the moment. Um, so yeah, we're just in a holding pattern with it. But I'm enjoying League. I think there's another patch coming out next week. They're going to be buffing Varus somewhat, and then nerfing his W big time, like massively nerfing his W. Um, to the point that they're trying to murder Varus top, which has become a thing apparently, which is really funny. But yeah, so we'll see. I'll see how the buffs end up playing out for him. I think it's gonna be decent, but I'm not sure it's gonna be enough to really bring him back into a place that's good. So I don't know. We'll see how it is. But your boy Silas said it's getting gutted.
yeah, I've been thinking about it the last couple of days, and I'm okay with it. He's gonna need some more changes. He's gonna need some. They're gonna adjust him some more. I think they're gonna give him his shield back. They used to have on E.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so when he dashes in, he gets a shield. When he first was released, he used to get a shield on dash, and
Yeah.
when he first was released, anyway, he was an AP bruiser. His
Yeah.
damage for his W wasn't like super high like it is now and stuff like that.
Mm.
So I believe after like season 12 or whatever, that's when they kind of changed him to where he is now. Um, and I
Yeah.
mean, it's a okay play style. Before the item changes, you can still build him bruiser. Then they did the item changes for when they had the mythics and stuff like that, and you can only play him as an assassin. And then
Mm-hmm.
after the item changes, it kind of just stuck. When they got rid of the mythics, so now looks like they're trying to go back to the way he was before.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually love AP Bruiser Silas. I think that's his most funnest play style. Um,
Mm.
Assassin Silas, the glass cannon Silas that I normally build now, I only build it because I have to. There is no AP Silas or AP Bruiser Silas build in my opinion,
Yeah.
because his numbers just don't reflect it. And now that his numbers and his cooldowns didn't reflect it. So to be a bruiser, you got to have a low cooldown so you can constantly do damage and stuff like that, and kind of stay in the fight, which they're doing now. Like his Q is going to be lower. His W, I think, is going to be a little bit lower. But it's going to reward more HP and everything of that nature. I think he's still going to need a buff at the end of the day. But I mean, we'll see when he drops. I'm definitely going to play him in a couple norms matches to see how he feels.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I was very upset with it before, and then I like it now. I just want his shield back. I think he's going to need some type of upfront um defense
Yeah.
to stay in mid lane or even top lane if they plan on going from top lane. And once he gets that, then he'll be okay. It doesn't have to be a crazy shield. It can just be like a little 100 HP shield or something like that when he dashes in or something
Mm.
crazy like
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, and maybe it scales off something, or maybe it doesn't scale. It's just a flat 100, and then it goes up every level or whatever. Not even that much, but
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. I think it's a okay change. I actually don't mind all the changes that they're doing right now. I think they're trying to keep it at a balanced level. I do think ADCs are a little bit crazy right now. Which is weird. So I played against Draven today actually before we played, and I just realized how even more broken he's going to be because they're not nerfing any of his items. He builds like
Yeah.
Infinity Edge, um, Bloodthirster, and like Collector. Those are his core items,
Mm-hmm.
and none of those are getting nerfed. So
Yeah.
he's going to be even more powerful. And we might see him a little bit more in this patch.
Mm.
Unfortunately, because I don't like playing against Draven at all.
No,
Uh,
he's annoying.
yeah, so But yeah, to I do like playing rank with y'all. Even like Jet has definitely got better as a support. Or me and him. Maybe it's not even him getting better. It's just me acclimating to his play style better. So like my last two games with him, I went 12-1 with Ash, and then I went 17-1 with Kaisa over our last two games or whatever.
Mm,
Because I think since he's been watching more support videos as well, he grasps the understanding of support better, and I actually grasp the understanding of how to play ADC with him. But I've been focused on mid lane when I'm playing solo, and yeah, like two of my I love playing assassin type characters or bruiser type characters. So like two of my mains I play is Echo and Zed. And Echo's in a good spot. I don't think he's bad at all. He's a nice safe pick mid lane. And then Zed got buffed recently, which he absolutely needed. And
he's
yeah, I've
about
been
to get
popping
nerfed
off.
though.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be like an adjustment in my opinion. He's
Well,
going
they're
to
nerfing his
lose.
late game, not his early
Yeah,
game. So
yeah. So and I can already mitigate stuff for that late game change. So that's okay. Um,
mhm.
in my opinion, I think it's going to be okay. uh I don't know. And the more I play, I was talking to my wife about it, because she it was some other stuff going on in my life, and I was just like, you know how you're not acclimated to change or whatever.
Mhm.
Humans aren't acclimated to change in general. So I applied this to League too, right? Because I'm like, I was able to get gold, high gold almost every season, or high silver. Like my first 2 years of playing ranked, I got high silver, and then I got high gold, and
Yeah.
then like the game changed, and then like my strategies weren't working anymore, but I was still using the strategies that I were using before, and it was just a simplified that I had to change with the game. And I have to learn, like, the whole old phrase, old dog doesn't learn new tricks. Like, I had to learn new tricks with the game, so I'm getting used to it or whatever again. I got humbled by ranked. I'm like bronze 3 now. But I don't know, you can tell.
Back in my day, we used to invade the jungle. We didn't just let them have it.
You know what? You're right. You're joking about that, but you're fucking right. Back in my day,
Yeah.
we used to, which was like I started playing League like 6 years
Like
ago.
what?
So,
Yeah, like 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah.
but like, yeah, like you could invade the jungle and really punish the jungler and stuff like that. And jungle is just not fun anymore. Straight up, it's not fun anymore. I climb strictly playing jungle, and it's not fun anymore. Um, and it's not Riot's fault or anything like that. Well, I think they made jungle too easy. That's the only
Hmm.
thing I have against them. I don't like catch up XP. I don't like the way camps spawn. If I take a camp, um, I'm pretty much just doing, in my opinion, I'm doing the jungler a favor. Their jungler a favor because he can just come back and you know do whatever. Um, but yeah, like that, and it's the community. In my opinion, I feel like the community really doesn't understand what jungle is. They don't appreciate the role. It's a thankless role, and I love jungle because it brings a dynamic, um gameplay to the game, and everything of that nature. But it's just
Hmm.
not fun to play because it's so stressful, because you're constantly getting bombarded by laners,
Yeah.
and it's just,
Well,
it's
they
like,
need to be.
oh,
They need to be.
I'm
They
losing.
need to be babysat, bro. Like, yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm losing my lane, and can you come babysit? Or, and then when you do take the lane, especially like when you gank low elo players and stuff like that, right? And they don't understand the concept of lane states, or wave states rather. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna help you push your wave up to the thing, crash it to the thing so you can back. They will ping you, or you're taxing me. And it's like, I'm not taxing you, bro. I'm actually trying to put your wave in a better state so you can back. You have gold, you can back, get your item, come back, and your wave will be in the middle or even crashing towards you, and you won't lose XP. But they don't understand that. And yeah, they don't understand, like, sometimes you got to rotate for objectives. I can't take the objectives all by myself. Um uh, I don't know. It's just a weird role to play. It's a fun role to play, but the players in other lanes and other roles do not make it fun for that role. And you have to literally play. I have to literally play for my mental health. I have to play mute all pings turned off because I'm constantly looking at the map anyway, so I don't need a ping.
Mhm.
So I play like that, and I actually win my jungle games that way. I went if you look at my record, I'm like 70% on my jungle games when I'm auto filled into them. Just
Mhm.
because I'm naturally know how to jungle, but I play mid lane now. But yeah, like I don't know. Even mid lane, people just don't understand that I have to roam with the jungler. Like that's supposed to be like my partner or whatever. Even junglers don't low elo junglers don't understand that as well. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I totally get it. I don't really I'm not a big fan of the randos in the league right now either, dude. They're just totally they're like a lot of them are out of control. Like they'll have one, you'll have one fucking death or something, like one stupid death, or you get out of position once or do something that doesn't quite work, and people will fucking they get super angry at you, or they'll be like, "Oh, I'm inting," it's like 5 minutes into the fucking game or something
yeah,
stupid like that. It's just it's gotten a little frustrating. Like, so I can understand in a role like I'm playing ADC, so nobody really cares about what I'm doing until the mid game probably most of the time. So it doesn't really come into play too early generally for ADC, but for jungle, it's like immediate, right? Everybody expects you to be with them always. It's like all three lanes
yeah,
want your help. Like,
yeah.
um,
It's a
and I mean
very
that is
annoying
part of the
role.
role to a degree, but the way people act, it's like you literally shouldn't be doing anything other than ganking.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. They act like
and
you don't have any agency inside your own. The jungle is my lane, and they act like you don't have any kind of agency inside that, and
right,
it's very annoying.
that you
I don't
shouldn't
know.
exert control or something in some way. It's like, yeah, dude, sometimes it requires you to like go off into the enemy side of the map and you need a ward and you need to maybe clear camp or something, or you need
Yeah,
to like
you got to
zone
track the
out the enemy
jungler.
jungler or something. Yeah,
Yeah,
trap the jungler, and that requires you to go places that take a while to get away from. So
yeah,
you might not be able to go help the laners at that point in time. And it's like they're not paying attention to you though. They're in their lane, they're paying attention to their lane, they're not watching your movement. It's like, so I get it to one degree. It's because this happens with me and Jet sometimes, where Jet this is the one thing with him. I wish he would communicate with me verbally more
hmm
sometimes, where he'll get himself into a position where he's really compromised, and I'm focused on getting CS in the lane, and I'm like, it's like, and then all of a sudden he's got two people on him, like the jungler and the supporter, fucking chasing him in the river, and he's like, "Just what the fuck?" I'm like, what? You didn't say shit, dude. Like, you didn't tell me what you're doing. Like, like fuck, I'm fucking sitting here fighting the laner. Like I'm doing a thing too. It's like, so communication is really important in MOBAs. And um unfortunately, I just think with randos, it's hard for that. Like pings aren't enough usually. There's more that needs to be said sometimes that a ping can't really like give you.
yeah,
So it's like, I
yeah.
don't know.
And I understand why Riot limits the pings, but sometimes, bro, I have to communicate through the ping, especially when I'm in mid lane
Hmm.
and I see that the mid laner's roaming. Like, because mid laners in low elo are stupid, so they'll just like immediately like push the wave, and they don't go back and then curve down. They just immediately start going down river. So I'm like, oh, I know exactly where he's going. He's going down river, so he's about to gank, or he's about to dive y'all, or he's about to dive bot, and I would ping to an excessive amount of like where I get so irritated when the ping start blocking me because I'm like, bro, they need to understand that they're about to get ganked. And I understand playing bot lane, playing both roles, support and bot lane, how you get tunnel vision.
Yeah.
But god damn, man, I would ping like right when they leave, and you at least have a good 30 seconds to run your ass back to tower. And, and like they don't do it. They just keep fighting. And I'm just like, I can't follow because I'm gonna lose out XP and gold. So I need you to just, I need or not you, but I need like bot laners to pay attention. But
I mean,
I
it
mean,
happens. Like, sometimes that happens to me too, right? Like, I've had my moments where I'm like tunnel visioning, where you're like really in
yeah,
the zone on the wave or whatever, and you're like, because I like managing a wave. Like, we talk about it. It's not necessarily that easy to do sometimes, So it does require some amount of concentration. It's not just like some autopilot thing you do,
yeah, yeah,
so sometimes I'm really focused on that, because generally speaking, your support is not helping you with that. That's my job as the ADC. So like when Jet roams off sometimes like that, that's why I need him to say something to me to break me out of that reverie, at times,
yeah,
especially if the opposing laner is still with me, the opposing ADC is still in the lane with me. That those are the situations that really not mess me up. When they're both gone, the support and the ADC, that's when I'm like looking around the map. I'm like, oh, where are they? What happened? Like, what's going on?
yeah,
When one of them is still there, I'm concentrating on them still and the wave. So it's like I'm not necessarily thinking. So then when the jungler comes down and they trap, the support or something, it's like I'm not in position necessarily. If he's telling me, if you say you're warding though, like I'll be looking out for it, before you walk away. Hey, I'm gonna go ward river. I'm gonna go ward try. I'm gonna go into their jungle a little bit just to like ward and maybe zone the jungler out or something. Like if you say that before you walk away, I will start paying attention, at that point.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
so obviously there is a certain degree of it. Everybody should be paying attention to the map as much as possible, but it's not always 100% like possible to do that, So there is a degree of
yeah,
teamwork there, But that's the thing with us on Discord. That's one thing. Expecting that from randos is extremely difficult. Like I'm
yeah,
sorry, it's
yeah.
just so you have to be
Well,
more aware when you're not playing with your friends for sure.
well, when you start watching, like I'm starting to climb better now because I'm watching my VODs and everything like that. Well, I've been watching them, but like I've been watching them to criticize the other team, but I have been criticizing myself what I could have done better and stuff. But like you start to see stuff like, oh, I see why these people are stuck in bronze or whatever, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
like there was an instance today. I mean, I won the game, but we won by luck, and I shitted on my team and left the lobby because I'm like, we won this by pure luck. Don't think you guys are good or whatever. Because we weren't good. We had one situation where we won a 4v. We won a 5v5. Four of the enemy team died. The other person, I think he was like split pushing or something like that, or he wasn't around. And I immediately started pinging Baron. This was like 21 minutes into the game or something. Start pinging Baron. I'm like, let's go Baron, let's go Baron, let's go Baron. No one, the Mundo just went bot. Jin still farmed mid lane, even though mid lane was pushed up on their side of the river. Shyvana was dead. And then Lux was the only one moving with me, which was my support. Because I was Zed mid lane. And I'm like, let's go Baron. We can take Baron. We have three high damage characters and then one character that can tank it. Their jungler's down. Of course, our jungler's down, but it's a 4v5 situation. None of them responded to my pings. And I just typed in chat, oh, y'all don't want to win. And they started flaming me the entire game. I'm just like, y'all don't want to win. Like that right there just proved
Yeah.
to me you don't want
Yeah.
to win the game. Because that was a clear, like people don't understand when to take clear objectives. And then they did a Baron, then the Shyvana spawned, and like 2 minutes later they wanted to do Baron or whatever. I'm split pushing bot, and they're doing a 4v5 in the Baron pit. And somehow like three of them died, or no, they doing a 3v5 in the Baron pit because Mundo died.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
split pushing bot because there's a ton of golden XP at the bot lane, and she just randomly calls for Baron. I'm like, why are you doing Baron when like everyone's up? It literally makes no sense. So I was just like, I can see why these players are where they're at now, because it's like now you start just like, even when I was spectating Jet, um, Jet wasn't doing a bad job at all, but I was seeing the way players play. And if you like Justin, if you actually go back and watch our bronze games, you'll be
Mhm.
like, holy fuck, we're trash. Like it's so crazy the shit that people do in the game when you're just like watching, because it makes sense in the moment, or you're
Yeah.
not thinking in the moment. But then when you go back and watch it, you're like, these people are dumb as fuck, or like I'm dumb as fuck. Like
Yeah,
why did I
I
do that?
definitely have watched myself and I've been like, wow. I'm like not paying attention to anything, or I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah. So I don't know, like like, because I used to do that when I was like heavily climbing back then as well, like watching my VODs and stuff like that. And yeah, like I don't know, like you once you do that, you start to see stuff in real time and when to go for stuff and everything like that, and again and everything. And yeah, like I don't know that Baron call, like when I did the Baron call, no one responded to it, and it was like a clear win for it was a clear
Mm.
leg up for us.
Yeah, they weren't going to
Um,
contest it. Like you guys could have taken it really quickly. Like it was, yeah.
yeah.
My
So
favorite one though is when that strategy gets a little deeper, where like you ace the enemy team on their side of the map on like their mid tier 2 tower, and everybody's like, "Go to Baron, go to Baron." It's like, no, win the game. Like you were literally in their base already, and they're all dead. Like go win the fucking game. You know that shit drives me fucking crazy when people do that. Like when our randos do that sometimes. I'm like, why are you heading towards Baron? We can literally kill their, like, we're all level 15. This is late game, bro. Like, we can go destroy their fucking Nexus now, you know? It's like they're all dead. So, that kind of stuff drives me crazy too. Because usually, I don't know. I usually am with you guys on the macro stuff. It's just like, dude, when we win a team fight, we need to do something with that win. We shouldn't just disperse and go farm. That's not really generally most of the time that's not the answer. There's
well,
something we can do.
normally the rule, like this is what high elo players say, right? And I've been watching games and stuff like that. So like yeah, I agree. I 100% agree with you. If we're storming their inhibitor, well, it depends on the situation, right? If if we say if we do a team wipe and their death timers are like 30 minutes or 30 seconds, 25 to 30 seconds, we can probably keep pushing and probably win the game off that. If we like kill them at the beginning of the
If we're
tower, say
all
that,
there, if all five
yeah,
of us are
if
there,
all
yeah,
five was
right.
there and we do that, right? Um, now say their second tier tower is still up. We kill all five of them. The best call is to go Baron right after
Yeah,
we do that.
probably not going to kill you're
Yeah,
probably not going
yeah,
to win at that point.
yeah, exactly. Because you can push with Baron, and then you have even more of an advantage with Baron, or whatever.
Well,
My
what you
issue,
could do, yeah, what you really should do there is leave somebody who's a good tower killer, kill the tier 2, and then go like have the other 4 split off and go to Baron, and then they come and meet you at Baron
yeah,
as you're
exactly.
finishing it. So you get two
Yep,
things.
exactly. Yeah,
Um,
and a lot of players don't understand that. And then another thing is, even if we are at their base, their first level base, or third tier, I guess, tower or whatever,
mhm.
and right in front of their inhibitor, even if we take that and we kill a couple of them, we have to start looking at, like, people don't look at death timers and they want to push all the way. And it's like, well, we only killed 4 of them, or even we killed 5 of them. We may have killed that Lux at the beginning of the fight, and the fight was 30 seconds. She has 10 seconds left on her timer,
Right,
and
she's
now
coming back.
she's coming back, or and then someone else is coming right back behind them and everything like that. So now you're pushing up to their last tier towers, and those towers are like crazy. We don't have a wave or anything like that. Just go back and try to take another objective or split push, or move other way. Like the problem with low elos, they just stay in the fucking base or whatever, and
Mhm.
then everyone comes back, and then the game seesaws back to the others. The pendulum swings back to the other side because we may all get squad wiped, or our top person gets squad or gets wiped, gives everyone gold and shutdown gold and shit like that. So I don't think people understand death timers, and I'll be honest, like they are hard to track, especially when you're doing like a big drawn out team fight, because there's been times when we
I
got fucked
wish they
over.
would put them in a different part of the screen, to be
Yeah,
frank.
yeah,
Like I hate where they are. Because sorry, I hate bringing up Dota now because you guys always fucking like oh Dota, every time I do it or Brad does it. Like, but no, I like in Dota, everyone, all the characters are at the top of the screen. Where the dragon icon is and stuff. In League, it's at the very top in the middle. So when somebody dies, their timer's up at the top in the middle. You see that it's very prominent. On the
yeah.
screen, so it's really obvious. Like it's easy to keep track of. I feel like in Dota, I wish they would move it somewhere in League up there as well,
I
or at
think you
least
can
allow
actually.
us to do that.
I think you can customize the UI. Actually, try looking to that. I think
Then
you
I
can
will
custom.
look into that because that would help me a lot. I hate it
Yeah,
being down by the mini map because
yeah.
it's really small and not something you're looking at.
Yeah,
a lot.
and I think that's the other gripe with League, especially mid game. Um, Death timers. Maybe I gotta study a little bit more. They don't make any sense to me, right? If I'm like 1 and 5 in lane, I don't think my death timer should be as severe as somebody who's like 5 and 0. Then they die and they're 5 and 1. Their death timer should be more severe than mine.
Well,
If that makes any
I
sense.
think it's just level based. Like
It
I
has
think
to
it's
be.
just like it's 30 seconds for level 10 or something. I'm just making numbers
Yeah.
up, but like I think everybody at level 10 is 30 seconds.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, which
It
that would
has.
be interesting. I feel like that would be an interesting kind of punish mechanic for. I don't know how players would feel about it because doing well would almost be like punished in that situation. But
Yeah.
I think what more they should do is if you're doing poorly, maybe shave a little time off your death timer rather than punishing somebody who's doing well.
Yeah.
Like let's say
That's.
you're level 10 and 30 seconds is the default timer. Maybe if you're 1 and 5, it's 25 seconds. But if
Mm,
you're 5 and 1, it's still 30 seconds.
yeah. That makes
Something
sense.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, some kind of algorithm that figures it out based on your ratio.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't
So
know. It's just
yeah.
it's stuff that I feel like the state of the game was actually really good. It's just the state of the players are. This is the worst I've ever seen it this season as far as player base and
Mhm,
ranked. I'm glad y'all experiencing like this is like sort of like y'all first season experiencing it. It didn't used to be this bad.
mhm.
Surprisingly, it's just really bad this season. I don't know what it is, man. Like,
Yeah.
I, so
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, yeah, league's been fun. Uh, I just want to play more rank though. I'm kind of feeling like I'm at the point with league where it's like I don't want to fuck around anymore with I kind of want to like play seriously and like actually try to get better at the game
yeah.
for real. So I don't know. We just need a full squad though to do that. So um but outside of league, been playing more TFT just a little bit, maybe I don't know 4 or 5 games this past week. I'm already at the point though, I will say with this because I've been playing ranked exclusively with TFT. Is I like the game. I really enjoyed the FFA aspect of the game. The fact that everybody's on their own. But the thing I'll say about it is I'm already at the point where I'm having to look up kind of what the meta is at this point because I've already run into a couple games where early game I'm doing really well, but late game people come back and they become these unkillable juggernauts. And I'm trying to understand what the kind of meta is. And I did some looking into it, and there's like kind of strategies, right, where you intentionally lose early in the game. So you save up a shitload of gold and shit, and then you like kind of blitz by a ton of shit in the mid game and become like super powerful, and you're kind of going towards specific strategies too, like there's certain team comps or characters you're looking for. And there was this one guy that played I don't remember what the fucking name. It's fucking Red Panda Bear or whatever. I think Bokubo or something. It's not a normal league character. I think it's a TFT exclusive character. And
Okay.
this fucking dude by the end of the game, this thing had 9,000 HP. Just this one character had 9,000 HP, and he had, I think, at least 2 items on him that regenerated, I want to say 8% HP every second, and then another one that was 5 or 6% HP every second. So he had 9,000 health, and he was regenerating 13% HP every second or two. Like, he was unfucking killable, and he was like two-shotting all my stuff. I was like, what is this? How is this possible? He had this like scaling item, I think, or something on him based on how much interest income he got. And I was like, that made me like go like, okay, there's clearly like strategies now that I'm already running into that I don't understand that I like need to like. So I'm kind of hitting. I've like it's kind of the first like hurdle, right? Like where I'm like, okay, if I want to keep playing this game, do I really want to go learn the meta, the strategies? Like I was having fun kind of fucking around with it and just like doing whatever. But now I'm at the point I'm already like kind of at the point where I'm like trying to having to figure out what strategy do I want to play? Like how do I want to play the game? So I don't know how much deeper I'm gonna go with it, Like it's kind of just been a whimsical thing where it's like I'm just in the mood for it or for whatever reason on a given day. But I will say it's weirdly can be as deep as League in some ways. It's really complicated when you get into it. Once you start understanding everything that's going on and like what the different events are and what components are and what items work with what champions, it's like shit like that and which champions work well together. It's like it gets really complicated when you really start getting deeper into it. So it is fun. It definitely has a very interesting concept to it. It is funny though. Like I don't know how popular TFT is, um, because I've been getting matches really quickly when I play. It's like within 10 seconds, I'm already matching a game usually, at certain times of the day. So, game seems like it's still fairly popular. And it doesn't seem like Riot, it feels like Riot actually has still investing time and energy into it. They're not abandoning it. Um, kind of the way I feel like Valve did with their auto battler that's in Dota. I don't even know what it's called. Um, which is funny because that was the one that started this whole thing, but I feel like Riot like went a little further with theirs than Valve did with the Dota one.
Yeah.
So so it still seems fairly popular and they have like all these cosmetics and shit. It even has its own fucking battle pass and stuff. Like it's like they've put effort into it. So there is an interesting game here if you ended up playing it, or anybody ended up playing it, anybody listening to this, you end up playing it. But so I'm gonna keep messing around with it. We'll see. Eventually I may hit a wall where I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's too complicated. But I will say that free for all aspect though, I still like again, I just want to reiterate this is not a common thing. I think this is why BR really appealed to me so much, is because I love free for alls. I've always loved free for alls. Going all the way back to my RTS days in like Warcraft 3, Warcraft 2. My fucking favorite thing to do in Warcraft 3 was to do a 12-person free for all on the gigantic, humongous maps. That shit is some of the funnest shit I've ever done in gaming ever. Like to this day, I love it. If we got on Warcraft 3 and everybody was like, for whatever reason, wanted to do fucking free for all in Warcraft 3, dude, you know how fucking down I would be? I'd be there instantaneously. I'm like, I would be fucking in it, because I love that shit. So TFT has that energy of like, it's an 8-way free for all. And I love that because it's just like, you see in the game, like some players are doing really poorly and then some are doing really well. And it's like, you're maybe in the middle somewhere and you're like, oh fuck, it's like, oh God, I got to fight the really strong guy, now it's like, and you know, you haven't actually matched up with him yet, but you beat him and you're like, oh shit, okay. So maybe I'm like stronger than I think I am right now, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So it's just really cool in that element. I love that free for all element. And I just love the fact that like you're not relying on anybody else. I really kind of dig that style of gameplay where you are your own, like your performance is on you for the most part, and I like that element of the game as well. So that's cool. Um, Outside of that, still playing V Rising. I hit level 70 earlier today on my lunch break. And level 90 is the final boss for the game. So I'm getting towards the end game here. And I will say, like, I don't have a lot more to say about the game. Like, I've said pretty much my piece for the most part. But I will say I think I mentioned the progression last week or the week before, where I kind of hit a wall with the progression in this game. And I'm starting to get through that wall now. I'm figuring out what I need to do and getting it done. But there is a significant period of time from level 47, I would say, through I don't know, 60, early 60s, like 63 maybe, which is a significant time wall where you have to basically run around and go find recipes out in the world, and you need weapon recipes and armor recipes, and you just may not get those if you're unlucky with drops and stuff. And what you can do though is if you get duplicate recipes, you can go disassemble them or salvage them or whatever, and you'll get component materials that will allow you to randomly roll recipes at your study. But that takes forever to do, and that was kind of the wall I was in. I couldn't get the last piece I needed. Like I needed like boots or something. And I just, for the fucking life of me, could not get the boots recipe to drop, or roll it on my study when I was using the component materials. I just couldn't fucking get it. It took me like a week to finally get one. And it was pissing me off, dude. It was so frustrating because it was kind of a wall. Like I needed that item because that what that item did was gain me what like it got me one item level, but then when I finished the set, that got me another item level, and then it gave me 80 HP on top of it, which 80 HP is a lot. Like I don't even have 800 HP right now, so it's over 10% of my health pool, which is significant in this game. So I needed that. Those two things was enough to kind of get me over the boss hump I was in, where I was kind of locked at a certain boss. I couldn't beat it, and I needed that. And then once I did that, I finally like kind of opened the floodgates and I started progressing again. But that was just like a really frustrating period of the game for me. I don't love the way they did the progression in the mid game. I think they just put a little bit too much into the luck aspect of the game. And I think there's just so many things that the player has to keep track of in terms of progression, and kind of, you know, how to continue to upgrade your castle and then upgrading your armor and your weapons. And then they introduced this new system around level 60 is ancestral weapons that can drop. Basically, enemies. There's a certain zone in the game you'll go to, which is where the final boss's castle is. And you'll be out in that zone, and there's enemies ranging from levels like 60, 50, basically from like 50 all the way to 90, essentially. And those enemies will drop these shards called Stygian shards or Stygian shards. I don't know how to fucking pronounce it. These shards, though, and they'll also drop weapon shards. So what you have to do at this point is you have to go do these timed events. Like this is almost like an MMO style thing where the game will have a timer on the map that will tell you 15 minutes in the rift gates will open in 15 minutes. And in this zone, these rift gates will open, and there's tier 1 and tier 2 rift gates. And the tier 1 rift gates are level 57. So they're doable much earlier in the game, and you have to do these though because another part of the leveling that was screwing me up was that in order to upgrade your weapon at past a certain point, you had to go do these rifts, and I didn't understand that. The game doesn't tell you that. So you get these shards that you have, like with these weapon shards that you need to reforge, and that is the kind of the next upgrade path for your weapons past a certain point. And if you don't upgrade the shards, you're kind of locked with level 18 weapons, and this gets you to level 20, and then 23, then 26, and then eventually 30 with your weapons. And I didn't understand this for a while either, so this was another thing that was kind of gating me for a bit until I figured this out. And then I started doing these rift events, and it's like you have to like grind these like you're playing fucking Final Fantasy, dude. You know, like and you need a lot of these shards in order to upgrade your gear. To do two things. They unlock passives for you, and then you can put them. This is another way you unlock recipes is you get a summoning circle thing in your castle, and you can put these shards in there with some scrolls, and that will summon an enemy that will drop 2 random recipe books for the current tier and the second tier of equipment and stuff. So I started doing that a lot, and that got me a ton of books, but it was like I didn't I didn't understand that. I had to do a lot of like running around until I figured this out, you know, and doing other things. And then eventually, when I ran out of things to do, I really started exploring this system. The game didn't really encourage me to go do it; it just was there, you know. So I think that's kind of a weak point in the game to me. Is that I feel like this is a part of the game, this section of the game, that level 47 to early 60s that I'm talking about. I feel like a lot of players may have gotten filtered there, you know, not by skill necessarily, but by just like the way the progression is, and that the game doesn't give you a lot of information on how to progress. So that's kind of the one thing I've been dealing with. I'm like I said, I'm pretty much past that now. I'm level 70. I'm working my way towards 70. I think in my next session I should be able to get to 74 pretty easily. Actually. And then I'll probably be able to get to 80 easily. I think 80 to 90 is going to be a little bit more of a grind, but at that point, I mean, you're kind of in end game. You're in the end game at that point, so it's not really as big of an issue. So I don't know how much longer I'm going to play this game. I am kind of getting pretty ready to move on to something else. Like I want to play. I do want to play Final Fantasy 14 again. Then we got like Black Myth coming out next month. Black Myth Wukong coming out next month, and there's some other games as well. So, but again, I do still recommend the game. Like V Rising is really fun. So don't take any of these criticisms as like some kind of deal breaker with the game. Like the game is still really fun. But just do take note of it if you are playing it. That I wouldn't recommend a guide necessarily, but if you do get stuck, I would recommend going out there and just seeing what the progression is, because I don't think it's worth figuring out on your own. It's not some fucking like amazing puzzle you're solving or anything like that. It's just the game not really telling you the information. So I don't think there's any issue with going and looking at a guide in this case. So but yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing. So Montrell, what about you?
To be honest with you, only thing I playing is League.
Fucking degenerate, man.
Over the weekend, I did play Harvest Moon. Wow. Stardew Valley.
That's right.
Yeah,
How'd that
I did
go?
play that. My wife was a slave driver.
Is she in earshot?
No, she's not.
Okay.
No, man. She has things a certain way. This is what I was nervous about, because I'm like, I don't want to come into her farm, but she has.
You should have just gone in there and gone ham, bro. Like, you should have just fucking ripping up fucking corn husks and shit. Fucking like, I don't like this. I don't like this drawer over here. I'm moving it into this corner.
She has things a certain way in the farm and everything like that. I don't know. The game's weird. Like we share money, but I have my own materials, or I can have my own group of materials as well. But I can also go into her stuff and take her materials. So she's like, oh, we can build your house up and stuff like that. But like, she has a routine. She's like, I wake up, I pet the animals, I gather all the eggs, I put the eggs in this machine, I do, and then she has she has it like a row of like everything is like organized in a certain way to where
it's like a job. Oh my god, she's playing it like a second job. What is this? This is why I don't play these games, man. I have a job, okay? I have a routine in real life. I don't need a routine in Stardew Valley,
Yeah. So then she has then you have certain objectives you gotta meet and stuff like that. Her farm brings in I've seen a amount of gold, like 30K in gold a day or some crap like that. So she's like, I'm like, how did you? She has like efficiency, like it's an efficient farm. And I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, aren't you looking against capitalism? She's like, yeah, but this is my farm. I'm like, whatever.
Man, we gotta put that energy into real life,
So it's just funny, because I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to play this anymore. So we actually just we played Stardew Valley for about 2 hours, and then we played Mario Party and everything, and she actually beat my ass in Mario Party. She had like 5 stars at the end of the fucking game, bro. The game was cheating though. To be honest with you,
I kind of want to play with you guys, because if you suck at this, then
I don't say.
I feel like Deanna and I are gonna go. Like, we're gonna become rivals.
The game was literally cheating. Like,
no, you're gonna get. Of course, it's cheating. Of course, the game is cheating. It's Mario Party. It always cheats.
It put the star in front of Rosalina. She wasn't even playing Rose. She was playing
AI,
Birdo.
Right?
I was playing Yoshi.
Yeah, of course it does. No, dude. Look. This is tried and true Mario Party, okay? This has always happened from the first game to now. That does not surprise me whatsoever that the AI is cheating,
And then I won every mini game, right? Or I won like a majority of the mini games, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I'm going to at least get a mini game star, because I got like 2 or 3 stars. I was like, I'm just going to get a mini game star or whatever. And it didn't even give that category at the end. It was like the most events and then like the most items used or something like that.
Oh,
she got both of those stars. Shit. And
with the newer Mario parties, they randomize the end game stars, don't they?
Yeah.
But there's like 5 of them, and they only do like 3 types or something. And
yeah, they only did 2 types this time.
Oh,
it was only 2
sucks,
types,
dude.
So yeah,
I don't like that.
Yeah, so
I like knowing that it's going to be mini games. I think, what was it? Mini games, like most spaces moved, and like the happening, like the number of happening spaces you landed on, or something.
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah,
yeah. They call them event spaces now. So like the event spaces. But yeah, she won that star. Oh, and then she got like the DK. He fucking randomly warped with me, and I was about to get a star, and I would have been tied with her. and I probably would have won the game. But then he warped with me randomly. He used a random warp tube on me. And I was like, dude, what
Mhm.
the fuck? And he didn't even get the star. He had 170 coins at the end of the game, no star. And I'm like, bro,
Oh, the coin star. That's what I was thinking of. Most coins at any
yeah.
given time. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, they even had the most coins star. It was too like
Oh,
Justin. It was too random fucking star. I was so mad. And
was it like most red spaces landed on and like
I can't even remember.
stupid
It was
like
something
that?
I've never even heard of because I knew for sure. I was like, I at least gonna get the mini game started and come in second. I came in second place. But she won. She got like 4 or 5 stars at the end or whatever. And yeah. So I don't know. It was still fun though. It was a fun. She likes board games, and it's a board game, and I like playing video games. So it's the best of both worlds and stuff like that.
No, I love
Um,
playing Mario Party and playing it like hyper serious, and like fucking dominating, where I'm like at the end of the game, I have 5 stars at the end of the game. The next closest person has 2, and then I get all 3 of the end game stars, and I win with like 8 stars. Like I love doing that shit. That was
yeah, it was
you know how many fights I created with my brother and my dad back in the day playing Mario Party. It's the funniest shit in retrospect. It was kind of uncomfortable at the time, but they would get so angry, like so angry when we would play Mario Party. It's so funny where like it would be like because I would do shit like because it would be 3 of us, right? And there'd be one AI, and we put the AI on like ultra hard or whatever, just to give it some semblance of a chance or
yeah.
whatever. But I would do things like because obviously the AI, generally speaking, sucks in Mario Party. Like they have to cheat to even compete with you, and I would do shit like where I would like go to Boo, and I'd have like I said, I'd have 5 stars, and the AI player would have like 3. And then my brother would have 2, and my dad would have 1, and I would steal a star from my brother because he's the one I'm worried about, not the AI. And he'd be like, dude, what the fuck? Why did you steal from the AI? He has 3, dude. What the fuck? And I'm playing it like hyper strategy, like super strategic, of like
No, me and my
I
brother and
love
my
it. I
dad
love fucking
they
with
used to
them.
get mad too all the time, especially like it wasn't even Mario Party we used to get mad at. Well, my brother used to get super mad at Mario Party. Then my little brother, when he got old enough to start playing with us, he used to get super mad at Mario Kart with us. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so we used to like destroy him in Mario
I
Kart.
hate I hate Mario Kart, dude.
I love Mario Kart 64. Oh my! And then we found
64 is fun. Yeah, I in
yeah,
general
no,
I hate Mario Kart though. Like, dude, when
oh
you like
yeah,
you'll win the race, the whole fucking race. You'll be like the best player clearly, and then
the
like
blue shell.
2 feet from the fucking finish line, yeah, blue shell, and you make second. And I'm like, fucking hate this game, man.
So my dad stopped playing with us, right? Because on Mario Kart 64, the Rainbow Road, you remember the huge jump at the beginning of Rainbow
Yeah.
Road?
Oh, of course, yeah.
So there was a way you can actually make a shortcut out of that.
Oh, of
So
course,
if
absolutely,
you did,
yes.
oh, so you knew
Oh
about the
yeah.
shortcut, yeah.
Oh
So
yeah, dude, that jump
if
is
you
so
hop and then
high.
turn,
That
it
jump is
turns to the
so
right.
high. Yeah, you can go to the later part of the track. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
you can do that on Wario's. You can do that on Wario's Stadium too.
Oh, really?
Actually,
I didn't
yeah,
know
no,
that.
I mean, because there's like multiple jumps in that track. So there, I think you can do that on the Peach course as well. I think like there's a lot of shortcut shit like that with the jumps in Mario Kart 64.
Yeah, so my dad wouldn't play with this anymore. He's like, I'm not playing
Oh,
this
because
game. You guys are gonna, or you
you
guys are gonna fucking cheat. I was
he
like,
called it cheating.
I was like, it's not cheating. I was like, you can do it too. But we
Yeah,
practiced it
man.
so much.
Oh
We,
my
we
god.
used to like, even if you bounced, like if you missed it, then
Hmm.
you're fucked, right? But if you bounced
Yeah,
and then you jumped off, the Cooper would put you right where you bounced at. So we used
yeah.
to just do that or whatever. And it was
You
just
just have
funny.
to hit the track. You just have to
Yeah,
hit the track. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
So he stopped playing with us. So we used to play Mario Party and stuff like that too. But my brother used to get so mad because we used to do teams in Dead or Alive, especially when my little brother got older to play Dead or Alive or whatever. We used
Hmm.
to do teams in Dead or Alive, and me and my dad, we were like Dead or Alive fanatics. Me and
Yeah.
him would literally play Dead or Alive 2 on the Xbox for like 100 matches. Like it'd be 50-50. Like the score would be like 59, 40, 51 or something like that. Like we would do
Hmm.
100 matches and just keep playing sometimes. So we got so good at it, we knew how to do reversals, and we knew the reversal of every character and everything like that. So my brother and my little brother would play with this, and they'll be like, "Oh, we're gonna be on teams against you guys." And we're like, "All right, whatever." And we would just like destroy them. They get so mad. It used to be so funny. Like
Yeah.
in retrospect, it was like, don't get that mad at the game, but it was like, no, it's just funny as fuck.
Oh, it's no, it's hilarious, man. No, it's funny as fuck. Yeah, no, man. I don't know. Those Nintendo games are they're so fun. I just wish we played like we would do LAN party or something because yeah, they're fucking hilarious.
You just gotta
It's good
talk the
stuff.
boys and your wife into doing the LAN party, a sleep overnight.
Sleep sleep overnight. Let's
Order
go.
some pizza,
Yeah.
Mountain Dew and Coke everywhere. Let's go.
Doritos. Oh,
Doritos.
Doritos with cheese dip. Like the
Oh my
nacho cheese
god.
Doritos with cheese dip. Maximum degeneracy.
We're old. Our stomachs will be fucked up.
I know. Oh, absolutely, dude. Fuck yeah. Let's fucking go, man. But no, that sounds fun as hell. So we'll do it at some point. We just got to talk about it. All right. Well, Marshall, let's get into the news. We actually have a few news stories to talk about this week, so we do have some good stuff. First one is from Tom Henderson at Insider Gaming, and he's been talking about the PlayStation 5 Pro quite a bit recently, to the point that he actually tweeted out casually like a couple weeks ago, I guess, something about the PlayStation 5 Pro maybe missing 2024, and people obviously started freaking out about that. And he released this report this week, almost to like clarify and undo all that. That it still looks like PlayStation 4 Pro or PlayStation 5 Pro, sorry, is coming in 2024. Whereas he got some interesting info. So developers can now start submitting applications for supporting the PlayStation 5 Pro with their games on July 30th. So that's very soon here, within the next week. And then starting on September 15th, all developers releasing games on PlayStation 5 after that date, after September 15th, will have to support the PlayStation 5 Pro.
Mm.
So he says in the report here, while that date is obviously notable, September 15th, he says that does not mean it will be releasing on September 15th or September 16th or something like that. But it's just something to keep in mind. So he's saying that he still thinks it's coming this year. So I mean, I'm feeling November. I think that makes the most sense. That was when the PlayStation 4 Pro launched. I wouldn't expect anything different here necessarily, but yeah, PlayStation 5 Pro still coming this year. Montreal, have you thought about it some more? Are you excited about the concept of it? Do you want one?
Uh, if it's available, I will get it. I'm not about to go. I'm not about to do what I did with for the PlayStation 5, like stalking out
I
tweets and
agree.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I actually got that one, the PlayStation 5, by luck. I mean, we were on the we were on the podcast, and I got it. I was able to get it, secure my
Same
spot with it.
here. I got it on Sam's Club, dude. Like,
Yeah.
you know.
So I'm not gonna break my neck to get it if it's available, like readily available, and I can just like wait to the end of the day to get it, or wait to the end of the week to reserve it or whatever. Then yeah,
Mhm.
I'll buy it and get rid of my PlayStation 5 or give it to somebody. Um,
Yeah, but if it's like super restricted, I'm in the same boat. If it's like super hard to find, you can't get a pre-order in, I'm not doing all that
yeah,
shit,
I'm not doing all that shit, man. Like
Um,
I can easily wait for another year to get it, like drop in
right.
price,
Yeah.
So
Well, I'm actually thinking though this time, because last time I sold my base console in
mhm.
order to get the Pro. I'm actually thinking this time I may just keep the one I have now and put it downstairs, maybe in my
Okay.
living room, because we actually got a larger TV for down there, a 65 inch, so I might actually be able to game down there finally. So I may do that. I'm not sure, but yeah, no, I'm not like excited about this thing. I'm not like anticipating it or anything like that.
I
But
mean I don't know who's waiting for it. I mean I guess people who still don't have PlayStation 5s. There are a
I
lot of
just want to
people out
see what it
there.
can do, right? I think that's the
Yeah.
key. Is like, does it have a tangible impact on the quality of the games we're getting? Because if it doesn't, then what? I might not even buy one. Like, what's even the point? Um, because I mean, we're already getting games at 60 frames per second. The SSD is crazy. on PlayStation, the way it's been utilized by a lot of games. And is the Pro gonna result in? Is it just gonna result in more fidelity and that's it? You know, if that's the case, then I'm not really sure I care that much. You know, because the games already look great now.
Yeah, I think they're gonna try
Um,
to run fidelity mode in 60 frames. I
yeah,
think that's probably gonna be the goal. But yeah, like you
yeah,
said, if it's just like even if it's 120 frames, like I don't know. I mean, I have a PC for that. Like, if I really want to play a game at
yeah,
120 frames, So,
right.
um, I don't know. I for people like us who have PCs, like powerful PCs,
Mhm.
I don't think it's a necessity for us. But
Right.
for people who don't have powerful PCs, I can definitely see them like chomping at the bit for this one. So
Yeah,
I
and
don't
maybe
know.
more games use ray tracing, stuff like
Yeah,
that. I don't know. I
yeah.
can kind of see that kind of thing, um, but yeah, still looking like it's coming later this year. I mean, if they're gonna release it this year, though, I mean, we're at the end of July now. They've probably need to announce it. I would think by mid September would be
They
my
may
thought.
do it at a showcase. That's what I think.
Well, they're gonna be at TGS this year for the
Oh,
first time in a
really?
very
Okay.
long time. Yeah, they have not been at TGS for a long time. So that is actually really notable to me, and I feel like we're gonna get some kind of announcement there. Like, I would be kind of surprised if we don't get something notable, and it very well could be this. That they announce this console, and that would be kind of cool of them to do, to announce the Pro in Japan. Given how much they've kind of pulled, not like pulled away from Japan, I guess, as a gaming company in the last like decade or so. It'd be kind of cool of them to announce it there. So we'll see. Cool. All right, moving on to our next story. This one is actually from last week. We didn't talk about it, but when I actually like looked into it and read it, I felt like we almost had to talk about it. So there was a report from a company called ComScore that does a state of gaming report that they do in partnership with the advertising platform Anzu. And what they said was, this is what came out of the report this year, is that 82% of American gamers made an in-game purchase in freemium titles last year, and freemium being a free-to-play game that has microtransactions. And then the report continued to say that 62% of adults over the age of 18
This is
engaged in
crazy.
gaming, period, with millennials comprising 49% of the segment, followed by Gen Z at 13%. And then of the people surveyed, 77% play on more than one platform, with over a third regularly using a combination of console, PC, and mobile.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool.
And then continuing, another thing here, an estimated 86% of Gen Z and 80% of millennials surveyed said they watch esports, while 53% of Gen Z and 61% of millennials said they engage with esports content.
I am not of that 86% or 53%.
Well,
You know what? I
okay,
used
so
to watch.
I think the first one is like, have you ever watched esports? And yeah, I
Okay.
have.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you probably have. I don't. This I would not be part of that second statistic. I don't currently engage with esports really. And I think
So
you're the same way.
yeah, I would say before I got hired at Container Store, I was working the overnight jobs. I was working overnight IT,
Mhm.
and there I was so bored that I had nothing else to do. So I did used to watch Worlds like for League. I used to keep up with like LCS, like LCK, and all, like League of Legends pro scene like heavily because I had nothing better else to do at the time.
Yeah,
But now when I ever since I got hired when I got hired there, um, and I work in the daytime now, like and everything of that nature. Yeah, I haven't engaged with it at all. Like I may
you
dip
just don't have
into it
time
every
for
once
it.
in a while. Yeah, I just don't have time for it. I may dip into it every once in a while, but I'm mainly watching like basketball, football, and
Well,
baseball.
it's on the peripheral of your interests, right? Like, if you had
Yeah,
more time in your life, you would watch it and engage with it, right?
exactly. Yeah,
I'm in the
exactly.
same boat. Like, I used to watch Dota, the international every year, and I found it really fascinating for like 2 or 3, 4 years. And then I kind of fell off of it though because it's just so time consuming to watch.
Hmm. Yep.
I mean, these are hour plus games potentially in Dota's case that you're watching, and you're watching like a best of five.
Yep.
And they might play 5 games in one series, and it's like, dude, that's one whole night just for one of them. And it's like watching a whole tournament of that is insane.
And on
So
top of that, like at least for League, before they changed everything, they did the item changes and everything of that nature. It was like 45-minute games. They used to do the series as well. And on top of that, sometimes you may get like 2 or 3 kills, like
yeah.
because people are playing so serious, like one kill can actually like influence the entire game off that one kill or that one gank or whatever the case may be.
Right,
So
it's not like 60 to 59 or something, like kill
exactly.
scores. Yeah, it's
Uh,
like more like 20 to 15 or something.
Yeah, which is why they made the game faster and like they put less wards on the map and everything. Because believe it or not, you used to be able to light the fucking map up, but now you can't do that anymore, which makes the games more faster and stuff like that. But yeah, like the one that really surprised me is not even uh the 82% of gamers make in-game purchases for freemium titles. I mean, that's kind of like what freemium titles are. That didn't surprise me. The one that surprises me is the 62% of adults over the age of 18 that engage in gaming are millennials, and then or 49% of that are millennials, followed by 13%
Mhm.
being Gen Z.
Well,
Which
haven't we talked about this recently?
I was
Like,
gonna
that's
say
why
that
this is so
I
interesting.
I actually work with a couple of Gen Z people, and they don't play video games like
Yeah.
at all. And
No, and didn't we just talked about like the core gaming, like console gaming segment is our generation, you know?
yeah, yeah.
And the idea that we're going to get older, does console gaming just follow us, and we're the primary customer base for it for the next 40 years or something? And then what happens after that, Like, do younger generations actually get into console gaming, or is it a kind of an industry that may not exist in the same way after our generation kind of dies out, or um loses interest in it? It's like, that's kind of
I
interesting.
Yeah, I honestly think it's going to change in a way to where we don't recognize gaming anymore. But Gen Z will kind of they're going to get the bastardized version of gaming, in my opinion, and I don't think it's
Mm.
going to be fair to them. I think we're already seeing
We're
the
already there, man.
yeah we're already seeing the
Jesus.
results of that. Unfortunately, I don't think there are enough Gen Z developers or
Yeah.
Gen Z developers taking the reins. I think it's still comprised of Gen X. To be honest with you,
Well,
I
Gen
think
Gen Z, I don't think are interested in it. They're not, like, I think our generation, yeah, and Gen X for sure. They were the ones who started it, really.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and even maybe late boomers, I guess. Started it with the development in the 80s and stuff. And
Mhm.
then into the 90s for sure with Gen X into the 90s. And then us kind of grew up and wanted to be devs, and millennials are now kind of, have been joining the industry for the last 10, 15 years probably now. But Gen Z are coming into the market, and it's like, are they going for those kind of jobs? I don't know. Like, I don't really
I
necessarily
I
think
mean,
so.
if you think about it, right, and not to get political or whatever, this is just pure economics. From an economical standpoint, Gen Z has to work a lot. I mean, they have to work. Uh,
Right.
everything they
Well, the
own,
economy is such. Yeah, no, for
yeah,
sure.
everything they have, like it's either rented or whatever. Like they don't have time to really buy video games. And on top of that, their childhood was a lot different, right? They probably grew up with iPads and iPhones and stuff like that. You have any games on your phone type people. Um, and like the Gen Z gamers that I do encounter, because I think Gen Z is like, what was it, like 2001 and up, or 2000 or
I think it's
1995 and
it's
up?
around it's around there. Yeah.
Yeah, so like they grew up with like 3DSs and stuff like that. Um, like that was like some of their first consoles, or I've talked to people who were like, the N64 was their first console, or PlayStation. They barely were old enough to play the PlayStation, or
Or
PlayStation
dude,
2 was their
PS3 being their first
yeah,
console,
PS3 being
or
their first
Xbox
console.
360. Dude, if you were born in 2001, you weren't of an age where you could play games until Xbox 360 was out,
Yeah,
probably
exactly. So
2005.
yeah, so Xbox 360 and the PS3 being your first console, in my opinion, you're not going to get the best console experience out of that because that console generation was weird. I'll be honest with you. And well, you are going to get, but you're too young to remember, right? So your first real console is the Xbox One and PS4. And that generation went on for a long ass
Yeah,
time.
yeah. First one where you're like kind of forming your mind and like understanding things a little bit better, and at that
Exactly.
point, we are well into DLC microtransaction land at that
Exactly.
point.
We're
You
that
know,
the inflection point
like
already happened,
had already happened, right? So Gen
Yeah.
Z grew up with DLC and microtransactions largely. Like that's been
Yeah.
their
And if you grew up,
experience.
Fortnite came out around that time and everything of that nature. So if you
And
grew up,
playing these games on mobile, bro. Fortnite on mobile,
exactly.
Genshin Impact on mobile, shit like that.
Yeah.
Like
So
these
if you grew up
games.
playing those games, I can see you getting turned off by it, like this is not really for me anymore type of deal. And on top of that, you have social media and all this other stuff like that. Like a lot of that stuff influences the way people interact with video games, in my opinion. Um, I mean, you gotta think about it, Justin. Like we had old YouTube where people were posting like old video game clips, like
Mm-hmm.
of the Counter Strike, of the Halos, and then Devil May Cry posting like people were posting like their combo videos and stuff of Devil May Cry and like 360p, bro. Like we had that version of YouTube as well, kind of carrying gaming, and we had like the first iterations of Twitch, you know. So before it became like this big thing and it became like an actual career path or whatever.
Yeah, but dude, like now, that shit, like, dude, honestly, if you looked at my YouTube, you would probably be shocked. There's almost no video games in my YouTube feed at all.
Same for me
you
as
know,
well.
it's just like I don't think it's not the big content on YouTube anymore. It's just it hasn't been for a long time. Like the big shit on YouTube is crazy shit like Mr. Beast and like these dude. There's like these videos of people. There's this channel where they where they do these cheating tests for couples. Have you ever
Oh
seen this?
yeah, yeah, I seen that.
You
Yeah,
seen these? Yeah,
yeah,
dude, these get like 7 million views, bro. Like it's crazy shit like that, man. Like
yeah.
I
I
just
mean,
don't.
it,
It's changed. Games are. It's interesting. I'm not gonna say games are small. It's the biggest entertainment medium out there, but
it's
I
definitely on a
do
different scale. I think it's
wonder. A lot of that is buoyed by mobile, though. I think, and yeah,
yeah. I think the way we're interacting with games, I hate to say this, but I think it's more corporate now. It's more
it is
controlled.
definitely,
Um,
which
when
means
we were
it's
growing
inherently
up,
less fun.
exactly, which means a lot of kids probably not going to want to get into it because I mean, you can, even at a young age, you can tell when something's manufactured, like for us, for instance, right? When we were watching like TV and stuff like that, you can tell when a lot of TV is manufactured and then when a lot of TV shows are genuine and stuff like that, even movies
Hmm.
and stuff of that nature. So,
Yeah.
I feel like Gen Z is a lot smarter than us, and Gen Alpha, which is the generation after them, they're a lot smarter than us. Um, and I mean they're a lot more susceptible to things than us as well because we can spot some shit and they can't spot it, but then they can also pick out stuff that we can't see as well. That's just the difference in the generations. And unfortunately, I feel like gaming is one of those things where they just they don't see the point in it because they have so much other shit to worry about, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Um, and on top of that, like I said, the culture of gaming changed dramatically. It's really more corporate now. We don't have a G4 anymore. We don't have like little tiny channels. We don't have Spike TV. When it was just like
Mhm.
the cringy shit that we went through and what people thought gaming was, and they were still trying to figure out what the gaming culture was. Like E3, they
Mhm.
don't have E3 anymore. I mean, like they don't have that whole entire culture, and it's hard to get into something where you don't have it. Like we don't have the culture kind of propping it up. Um,
Kind of an
like
interesting thought. Yeah, there's not like what's the entry point for young people into video games right now?
it's too much. It's actually a brain overload.
It is. Right.
in my opinion. Like there are some people like I know some people like they're like, oh, I played Undertale. That was like my first entry to gaming or whatever the case may be. Or I played some obscure Sonic game on the Wii or something of that nature. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Um, but then you like ask me, like if you talk to us, I think that's the difference too as well, right? Um, for Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they have so many games and so many avenues to get into gaming that there aren't going to be common grounds anymore. Whereas like
Yeah.
me and you, we didn't have that many entries into video games, so we can overlap on games that we play, like obscure games that play. Oh, you played this game? Yeah, I played that game too. Like I just
Well,
found it on the shelf, like Monster Hunter,
yeah.
for instance, right?
Yeah.
Like that was an
Oh yeah.
obscure game that me and you connected on, or like Mass Effect or something like that, right? And it just wasn't, even though that's like
Or
a later game.
StarCraft or something.
StarCraft, yeah, that's like
Yeah.
all of us in our group play StarCraft and Warcraft. Like we
Right.
all touched that
Right.
game, and then we talked to Chris, and he's like, "I never touched those games before, and I don't even know what StarCraft is." You see what I'm
That's
saying? Like
insane. Yeah.
that's
And that's
yeah,
insane to us. But like, dude, no, and I mean it's a good point because when we were kids, like we didn't have entertainment overload. I wouldn't like obviously there was tons
exactly.
of entertainment still out there, like movies and TV were being made and anime was starting to become a thing, but it was in its nascent form, a lot of the stuff, games as well. There just wasn't as much of it, and it
Yeah,
wasn't as in your
exactly.
face. Obviously, we didn't have phones either, so the way you had to find this stuff was through a more
Get it.
organic way, like through a
Yep.
store or talking to people or,
Magazines. Yeah.
magazines, right? None of that's true anymore. Like it's all in your phone at anytime you want to see it, but that's the problem. Getting people to want to see it, that's the issue. It's like what's people's entry point into games now? My answer to that question is it's probably going to be a mobile game
Mm-hmm.
or Fortnite or something like that, or get some kind of big free to play mobile game like that. And if that's the case, if that's the most likely entry point, then what are people going to learn about video games? Is that they're predatory, number one, and
Yep.
number two, they can be really high quality, but they like they want a lot of your money, and there's way
Mm-hmm.
cheaper ways to entertain yourself than playing a game like Fortnite.
Yeah.
You can play Fortnite for free with $0 spent, and that was kind of the point I was trying to make when you guys were shitting on me for using the default skin in 2022 or whatever the fuck that was. It's like, but you can play that game, fully play the game with that default skin, and yeah, you look like a fucking idiot, but doesn't that prove a point though? Why am I the idiot for spending $0? That's insane
We were
that
just
people would
joking with
feel that
you.
way. No, I know, but I think a lot of people would feel that way genuinely, like
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
unironically would feel that way. Like if I went on Reddit and posted a clip like that, the first comment would be "ugh, default skin," like or something like that. And to the point, like that's the point I'm trying to say is like that game's culture is spending money, and if that's going to be the majority of people's introduction into video games, that's not a good introduction.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is going to get people to leave. They may get obsessed with something like Fortnite the way we did with World of Warcraft or something, and eventually they're gonna bounce off of it and they're gonna get other interests. They'll uh, that's what's so interesting about this time now is I do feel like I wonder what Gen Alpha is the one I'm almost more interested. Gen Z I feel like is fucked. Like they're like completely fucked up. I feel like Gen Alpha like has a chance to actually not be super digitally reliant on stuff, because they may see their seniors kind of going through this stuff and might actually learn something from it and
Or it
kind of come
may
back around to the more like physical activities of life, like hiking or fucking golfing or shit like that.
well,
Um,
it's interesting that you're saying that because even as I'm getting older, you would think I want to stay in the house more, but I get out. I get out a lot more,
yeah,
and um, and I imagine it's the same for younger people as well. I
yeah,
think well, it was a study that came out that said physical sales are like on every medium is like through the roof.
yeah,
They didn't anticipate it to be like this. Um, and I think because like the supply chain, obviously back in COVID's like it is a thing, but like not as huge of a thing as it was before, and all that stuff. But I mean, people are going out and doing stuff and everything of that nature. So I agree with you on that assessment, but it also could just be a thing where it's like, it becomes a norm where all this technology is constant, the algorithm is constantly in your face. Like it'll be kind of up to our
Mm.
generation to kind of regulate that when we're able to get into places of power to kind of regulate, the algorithms and
I
the
know
AI and
it's not even on our politicians' radar, and it needs to be.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
not saying
Um,
it should be shut down or anything like that,
no,
but
no, 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 no.
there's got
Yeah,
to be
yeah, yeah.
something. There needs to be some discussions about it, though. Like what's ethical, what's not, what's the line. We don't
Well,
even have that.
Well, have you? I just remember like when I was younger, I'm like, man, I wish I can buy all these games. And it's like now I go to the Play Store or the not the Play Store, but like I go to Steam or I go as much as I love the Steam market, or I go to the Xbox market or something. I just feel overwhelmed and I don't even buy the game. I have too many games. You know what I'm saying? Like this would
Yeah,
have been a dream for me.
yeah.
Like when I was like,
Oh my god,
19.
dude, we would have been a pig in shit when I was like 10 or 11, dude. I had all the time in the world. I would have been playing 50 games a fucking year,
Yeah.
Like, but I think the thing now is like I don't even necessarily feel overwhelmed. I know what you're talking about, but like what I feel now, because most of the time when I find a game that's interesting or I hear about a game that's interesting, I go wishlist it on whether
Mhm.
it's on PlayStation or Steam. I'll go put it on one of those wish lists, so I at least I have it in a list somewhere. And like if I ever come to a point where I'm bored and I want to go like find a game, I have a list of games I can go pick out. And eventually play. Like that wish list for me is not like an aspirational thing. I have no intention of playing all the games on my wish list. It's just never going to happen. But that's the point, though. I think is that nowadays it's not about desire, it's more about time. Like I don't have time to play this game right now, and I probably won't have time to play it ever, so it's just going to sit in the wish list.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. And I think that's the issue with I think the core gaming market now is there are too many games, and I do think that that idea of overwhelming is, you said this before earlier too about like younger people getting into this, is that they are going to feel overwhelmed when you look at the console market and you start looking at all the games. I mean, dude, we're talking about hundreds of games a month sometimes coming out, and it's like, how do you pick out the one that you're going to play out of that list? And more than likely what's going to happen is you're going to bubble to the ones that are the most prominently advertised, the ones that are at the top of the store page, the ones that are the most popular, the one that Steam is
Exactly.
saying the most people are playing. So that means that the games that are selling are going to sell more inherently, and it becomes harder for games that are like indie games and stuff like that to actually make a dent and actually sell significant copies. It becomes like it's kind of an unfortunate thing, because you almost, if you're an indie, you have to hope your game takes off, because if it does, it's going to take off, like really take off, because
Yeah.
that initial takeoff is then going to create another spike of people coming in and be like, oh, this game looks really interesting, and oh, this looks really cool. It's like if that didn't happen though, and people saw your game, they'd be like, the game looks cool, but whatever, dude. It's like nobody's playing it, and they might not buy it unless they're really an enthusiast
Well,
or
that's
whatever
another
that.
thing I think Gen Z and Gen Alpha are going to suffer for. Um, I think a lot of people don't engage with games unless it's one free. So you got the Fortnite. So that's, I think,
Yeah.
like you said, Fortnite, League of Legends. Because we were just talking about Brad's brother who's finding all these
Yeah.
girls apparently who are playing League of Legends now. Like, so you got Fortnite, you got League of Legends, you got Dota, Counter Strike, and everything like that. Well, Counter Strike's free, and Overwatch. Overwatch, I think, is a big inflection point for a lot of people as well.
I
So
think
that's
that's
gonna,
so true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think those are going to be like their common, like, this is my entry into gaming, right? So you're not going to know about the single player game. You're not going to want to take a chance with the single player games, because each one of those games I just mentioned, I believe every one of them, except for maybe Overwatch. Well, Overwatch 2 is free now. So all of those games are free to play.
Yeah.
So that right there, you want me to spend $70 on an 8 hour single player game? No, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
Like I only get 8 hours of entertainment, and I don't even play with other people. But that's the thing. Like people don't understand that. Like I always go to like I remember I mentioned it 2 or 3 weeks ago. Before or not two, like a month ago or whatever. It was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I don't know. Whenever I was playing Vanquish, and I posted my Vanquish clips, and Vanquish came out in 08, 09, I think, or something of that nature. and there were Gen Z people. Like I saw I knew their age because they had their age on their bios on Twitter, asking me what game is this? I've never played this game. This game looks so fucking cool. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's Vanquish. Like, you never played Vanquish before? No, I've never heard this game before. This game looks amazing. I'm like, well, it's an old game, and I showed them how to download it. Well, it was easy. You can just go on the Xbox Market and download it or whatever. And it's on PlayStation. But like, there are going to be so many gamers, like, but even people who haven't, like, my age, they never played Vanquish, but they heard of Vanquish. Like, oh yeah, I always wanted to play that game, but I just never got around to it. But like, at least you heard about the game, right? But like, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're
They were
not
too
going to hear about.
young.
They're too young. They're not. They're not going to want to seek out these single player games. Which is weird because I mean, single player games are doing something, but they want a single player game with a multiplayer game component like Elden Ring, right? I think that's the main focal point of Elden Ring. Like, I can play it single player, but I can also get
Mhm.
invaded by another player or whatever. So it's not really a single player game, if that makes any sense. Like, you can play it exclusively offline or
Yeah.
whatever, but it's not really a single player game. Um, so yeah, like it's like that aspect of it or whatever the case may be. Um, I think it's just going to be weird to see where gaming goes, because it might just, to be honest with you, Justin, it might just be the big five of, like, the League of Legends, the Fortnite,
Mm.
Fortnite first for sure, like maybe League of Legends, Overwatch, or whatever, and then like little indie studios making these little single player games until we die out, and then there's not going to be any more single player games.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking too. Is like I can see a future where there's a shrink, like a significant shrinkage of the what we consider the core gaming market, like the
Hmm.
Xbox, Nintendo, Sony situation. And I don't even know if I want to like put Nintendo in there because they're really trying to build their own ecosystem that isn't reliant on anything else. Whereas I think Sony is very reliant on the waves of the industry, and same with Microsoft, frankly.
Yeah.
Um, I think the other aspect we haven't mentioned here, though, that is going to really compete with the industry as a whole is just entertainment in general, dude. Like Disney is pumping content out like it's fucking like they're going to go out of business tomorrow, you know. And like the amount of television shows, movies that are coming out that you can watch on all these streaming services, dude, is just it's insane. It's crazy how much content there is out there to watch. So I think even in that regard, like that is competition for the video game industry, dude. Like time is a resource for everyone. And it's always been true, but I think it's more true than ever because there's so many things we can do in our with our time now in this modern day that dude, like these kind of digital platforms, this digital entertainment, like it's all in one bucket at a certain point, you know? Because for me, I think about myself, right? Like right now, I'm rewatching The Boys. Boys season 4 came out, and I'm rewatching the whole series to work my way up to this to season 4, and I'm gonna watch that. Um, but to do that, like I'm sacrificing gaming time. You know, it's like that's a reality. It's like to watch a television show, I'm not playing video games. And that's true for everybody, you know? It's like if you're watching a television show, you're not gaming. If you're watching a movie, you're not gaming. And obviously that's always been true to a degree, but I just feel like now it's a lot easier for people to be somebody who just watches television, you know? Like that's your hobby, you know, you don't play games. It's just
Well,
like
it
getting
used to
people
be.
in the door I feel like is going to be harder now, you know?
Yes, 100%. Because remember, that's actually a really great point, Justin. Uh, because remember, say like if you wanted to watch Friends or Fresh Prince of Bel Air, you had to be in your seat
Yep.
by a certain time, by 8:30, seven
Right.
thirty, whenever those
Right.
shows come up or whatever, or you want to watch Saturday cartoons or whatever. Your first 3 hours, 9 through 11 or 9 through 12, that was your block to watch the Saturday morning cartoons or whatever the case may be,
Yep.
or even earlier.
Oh man.
Probably earlier than that, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and so, and then I remember this. I don't know if you remember this. You should remember this. Like, you remember on Saturdays there was literally nothing to watch from like 1
Absolutely.
to like eight
After the Saturday
o'clock.
morning after the Saturday morning cartoons, you did not the TV was off. it was
Yeah.
reruns of Cops on like every network, or some fucking dumb shit like that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
either you
Or
were
some
outside.
sport like golf or something was
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Yeah.
golfer,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
golfer or something of that nature,
Baseball
right?
or something. Yeah.
Baseball, yeah. Um, and so either you were outside playing or you're playing your video games. I think when you brought up the TV aspect, right? We can control what we want to watch. So would I rather play a video game or would I rather like
Right.
some people would think like that? Like
There's no
I would just
time
rather
restriction. There's no schedule to it at all. Dude, I can go to the bathroom and log into Netflix and just start watching a TV show on the fucking toilet. Like, I can
yeah,
do that anytime. It's like there's no. So it literally comes down to what you want to do at any given time of your life now. It's not scheduled.
exactly.
Like,
Like
so,
yeah,
yeah.
like so during that time you had video games filled that void in my opinion
Yes.
and everything of that nature.
Definitely.
Not
Now
even
they're directly competing with each other, basically. For
exactly.
time.
And on top of that, there's so many other aspects that people experience gaming. I've met plenty of people that experience Resident Evils just through Let's Plays. They haven't touched the game at all, but they watch their favorite streamer or their favorite YouTuber play Resident Evil, and that's how they experience the game. And that's and I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying that's one person that probably just. I mean, I guess it could be a case of like, are you missing out on sales because of the Let's Plays? Because some people exclusively play the games like that, or they experience the game in that way. They experience the single player game in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like there's so many. You're not competing for the entertainment. You're competing for the time now, and I think video games are going to lose, in my opinion, because they
require an investment, dude, of time. Because think about single player games, right? We're talking about. I think this is why I advocate for games to really reconsider their scope a lot. Is that, and this is why I'm so critical of modern games now being too large. Is dude, like think about this from an outsider's perspective, right? Let's take Hogwarts Legacy as an example, right?
Oh yeah, that's a good example.
If let's say somebody who doesn't play games, they see Hogwarts Legacy, oh, this looks really cool, dude. I can go into the Harry Potter world and run around and do all this. And then you talk to somebody about the game, or you watch a review or listen to a review, and they tell you like, oh yeah, to fully complete the game, it's like, main story is like 30 hours and like full complete's like 60 hours or something like that. And they're like, what? Like a normal person who doesn't play games, they're like, wait a second, what? 60 hours? What do you mean? That's that's a 1.5 work weeks. What are you talking about? So I think that is a barrier, dude. Like I think shorter games are much more much easier to get people into. Like to let people give it a shot because it's digestible. It's not overwhelming. And then you start getting to how complicated games are now with how many systems they have and the fucking RPG mechanics and all the fucking stats and the fucking characters and button combos and shit. It's like it's too much. Like there is a degree of like there need to be simple games still. Like there need to be simple games. There need to be short games. We can't lose sight of that, or then I think the industry will like lose tons of potential players.
Yeah, and to be fair, they are out there. Like the indie game market they're out there. The indie game market, and then the middleware, the double A market.
Yeah, but going back to what I was talking about earlier, how do you find those games as somebody?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, I agree with that. Like, how are these new players or these inexperienced players supposed to get that? Because that's actually a great point too, right? When we were playing video games when we grew up, they were maybe 3 hours max. I can beat Sonic in like an hour, 2 hours.
Bro, Mega Man was like a 2-hour game. Like
exactly.
the NES Mega Man games, like Mega Man X was probably like 4 hours. It's
and
like
we played it constantly. We replayed those games constantly because they were designed for replayability. Because they knew
they were short too. They were also short. Replayability and a game being short are really important things to me. Like, I don't want to replay a 100-hour JRPG. Sorry, Tails. I don't want to do that. Like, fuck you. Like
fucking Persona. Like, fuck you.
Yeah,
you know?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
And then once we started getting these longer games, like I think Final Fantasy, I think my first long JRPG was Evolution. Like, yeah, it was Evolution on the Dreamcast, and I put like what I thought was a lot, like maybe 20 hours into that game. And I was like,
Hmm.
whoa, I put a lot of time in this. You know what? One game I maxed out was Digimon World 2 on the on the PlayStation 1. I got
Hmm.
99 hours in that where the clock stopped because I wanted to get every digit evolution in the
Yeah,
game.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
But um but yeah, even that was like crazy, right? I mean, I had a summer. I can do that in the summertime. Like I was out of school. I'm like, oh, I ain't got that shit else to do. Might as well just max this out. And I don't have money like that to just go out and buy another game. And I don't have a car to go out and buy another game. Games weren't digital, so you had to go to a brick and mortar store to buy a said game. So especially like the PS1, the early
Hmm.
PS2, and everything like that. We didn't have cars. Like the reason why we played Kingdom Hearts, I think the reason why a lot of people who play Kingdom Hearts so much is because that was the only game we could afford. Once we bought it, our parents were like, "We're not buying you another game. This is your only game you're going to play
Yeah.
for like the next 3 months or
Right.
whatever the case may be." Right.
Right.
So like we played the fuck out of that game or whatever, and Devil May Cry and or all Mega Man and StarCraft and all these other games like that, Warcraft and World of Warcraft and everything like that. Like
Mhm.
those games, like I remember when World of Warcraft came out and there were news reports saying like this is an epidemic. Kids are playing these games for 20 hours a week. Oh
Oh
my god,
man,
the humanity. And I'm like, bro, if you think about that now,
you
like
have no idea. You have no idea, homie. 20 hours, man, that's healthy. That means he's playing. That means he's playing 3 hours a day on average. Like
exactly.
he's a healthy World of Warcraft player.
But you remember that? Like people were freaking out over World of Warcraft and like in
Yeah.
EverQuest and everything
Oh
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like you said, like the Gen Z, they didn't experience that. They came in with these large bloated games. I mean, Pokemon is fucking large as fuck now. It takes hours to beat.
Yep.
I mean, 150 Pokemon at the time. We were like, what the fuck? That's a lot of Pokemon. It's like
Yeah. I mean,
800 of them now.
How long? That's a good question. How long did Pokemon Red and Blue take to beat? Like 20
I
hours,
think
maybe
not
15.
even that, man. I think it took me like maybe 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours to beat that game.
Man.
I
Yeah,
don't
but
even think it was that
you want to
long.
know why? Because the game was like was simple. It wasn't like there weren't these like elaborate animations. There weren't animations at all. The Pokemon would flash or wiggle when it used tackle. It was like that was. It's like the simplicity
I
of it
fucking
actually
loved
lent
it.
to yeah,
I
but
loved
like
it.
the
I'm like,
simplicity of it though lent to that replayability though because you're not bloating your playtime with all this elaborate shit. It's just you use tackle, the Pokemon wiggles, boom, and then your Pokemon flashes, and then they lose their HP. It's like it's nothing crazy.
yeah.
I actually loved those older Pokemon games because I would love to see new moves and like what the animation was. Like, bro, when I got Razor Leaf for the first time on my fucking Bulbasaur, I was like, oh my god, this move is so fucking cool, bro. Or when you saw like you use like Hyper Beam or something for the first time on your Dragonite. Like, dude, it felt like you were fucking nuking the enemy Pokemon, you
Well,
know?
yeah, my favorite was Thunder because you remember
Oh,
Thunderbolt.
fuck yeah, dude.
You
Thunder
actually
would
said
miss.
it.
Thunder would miss. It was like a coin flip. It had like a 50% hit chance, but bro, when it hit, you just saw that thunder, that lightning bolt strike, dude. It just was
what,
fucking so powerful.
what was the five attack move for the fire one? It wasn't was it Fire Spin that had the little kaiju?
No, it was the Moltres one, the one that would literally put like a stick figure of a man on the
Yeah.
Pokemon. It was
What was
Fire
that with
Blast.
Fire
Fire
Blast?
Blast. I think it was Fire Blast. Yeah. Oh my god, that move was fucking badass, dude. Oh my god.
But yeah, like I think that lends credence to like the 13%, and I think the 13% is just going to go down even further as time goes on and Gen Z starts because I think they're starting to enter their 30s now. Gen Z or the last of the young millennials are starting
Yeah.
to enter their 30s. Because we're already like mid 30s and late 30s. Um,
Right.
and I think Gen Z is like entering 25 to 30 now,
Yeah.
or that little area. And yeah, a lot of them, bro, they just don't play video games. They play one video game. They play Fortnite or Call of Duty. That's their game they play, and that's it. Whereas we had a ton of different games to play, and it took me so long to realize that. I mean, I was on my little play video games campaign, but it's just like, how can you play
Yeah.
video games when you don't even know what you want? You're letting the algorithm choose what you want.
Well,
If that makes any
and
sense.
dude, it's like you have to put in effort to play video games. I think that's something that game players, like video game players, underestimate. Is that it actually takes effort to play games. Like there's brain power involved. I know we're so used to it because we've been doing it our whole lives, but when you
Yeah,
haven't been,
exactly.
like learning how to control your character in any given game, or even just use the controller in general, dude, the twin sticks on modern controllers fucks people up so much. Like
Yep.
they don't understand, like they conceptually, their brain just cannot wrap around it conceptually, like how to control a character in a 3D game or something with that controller. And I think that is another element to this too, is that like so you're presenting somebody with a 60-hour game, and then they have to learn all these complicated systems, and you're throwing this story at them, and dude, it's just, even in that context, when you already have the game and you're trying to play it, it's like it is overwhelming there too, you know. So I do think, and it's kind of an interesting part of the industry right now when you really think about it, because there's no space for this in like the PlayStation Store or something like that, or Steam, right? For
New
new
gamers.
gamers,
Yeah.
games that are good for new players to kind of play, you know, to jump into.
Yeah, because
Um,
people don't understand like the nuance of like the game history. So when you see Ratchet and Clank, like, oh, this is the the revamped series of Ratchet and Clank, and they're like, what the fuck is Ratchet and Clank? I never heard of that. Even if you're like a Gen Z or a Gen Alpha, you're like, all right, there's a wombat and a fucking robot. Like, I don't give a fuck about this shit.
yeah.
Like, but like to other people, like it was the thing. Like, that was their thing. I think the greatest example is God of War, right?
Mm,
Um, a lot of people, a lot of newer players didn't understand where Kratos came from and why. Like when my wife was watching me play it, like she was like, "Why are you about to tear up about this game?" Like Kratos talking to his son and everything like that. Why she actually thought the way he was talking to Atreus was like, very forceful. And I'm like, bro, you have no idea. This is like character development at its peak, like from where I know Kratos or other players know Kratos as or whatever. Um,
mm,
and I don't know. It's just gonna be like you said. It's gonna be super interesting. I didn't mean to cut you off, but yeah, it's just gonna be like super interesting for like newer players on how they experience these games.
yeah.
Like Mario. I think that's why actually Nintendo's winning. I think a lot of their games are short, sweet, and to the point. You play Mario, it's a simple game. I jump on this Goomba and I get the coin and I get the star and I win the
Yeah.
level. That's
Right.
it.
You just get to the flag, bro. Like that's,
Exactly.
and you move to the right too, by the way. Like
Exactly.
you don't really move left. You can, but you don't generally, you
Well,
know.
you think about Nintendo's games too, right? Even if you're playing like a so-called complicated game, well, it is complicated to a certain extent, like Fire Emblem. You can put it on easy mode, and then you can
Yeah.
kind of go through it that way. Or you can play Pokemon, right? And you don't have to use too much brain power. Oh, fire beats water, water beats rock, grass beats rock. Rock paper scissors type situation there, or whatever the case may be. All these systems are easy to master. I'm sorry, easy to get into, hard to master. Um, I mean, that's why like all the Nintendo, like the Peach games sell crazy. The Mario Karts, they sell like crazy. The Super Smash Brothers and all that shit like that. Nintendo, like you said, when we're talking about it, I'm not even talking about Nintendo because I feel like they understand that new players have to start somewhere.
Right.
And what better way to start than with my Nintendo Switch? Like kids are playing Nintendo Switches like all the time. I see kids
Definitely.
everywhere playing Nintendo
No,
Switches.
it's a great introductory console for getting kids into games. Like 100%. That's where I would recommend anybody start if you're young and like you have a kid or you want to get them into game like that. Definitely start with Nintendo. Like I would
Yeah,
not touch PlayStation or PC or Xbox, honestly.
but that's the sad point right there. Like Xbox, PC, and PlayStation are missing out on the whole gaming market because honestly, there is no way to get to them. They, like you said, they don't have a new gamer
Right.
thing or whatever. Like,
Section of PlayStation. Also, even if they did, what games would even be there? obviously, like, not The Last of Us. Definitely not. You know,
Well, I think they would try to get like, because even
Astrobot,
Switch,
maybe the new
yeah.
Astrobot coming out would be a good one. Yeah,
But I think they were more pushing towards like Fortnite and stuff like that. Whereas Nintendo,
which
when
is
I go
exactly
into
what we don't want, though.
yeah,
Right?
but when I go in the Nintendo Switch market, I don't see Fortnite at the beginning of the market. You know, I see their games first. I
Right.
see, but on Xbox and PlayStation are thinking about is like kind of like shareholdery company wise. Like they're in that their corporate mindset. Like, well, Fortnite's our biggest game, so let's push that.
Yeah.
That's our biggest game, and we make the most money because they probably take like 20 or 10% off the cut. So that's what they're thinking. Where Nintendo's like, I mean, obviously Nintendo was still money driven as well. Don't get me wrong with that at all. But they more have their ecosystem to where people can play. My wife beat both Zelda games, and in my head that game's complicated. I'm like, you got to build what? You got to do what? And she's like, yeah, I did this and I did that, and it was nothing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, to me, I'm like, this is not the Zelda I grew with. Like I played with Z targeting Zelda, not even Z targeting. I played with
You
fucking
you
Link to the
shoot you
Past.
shoot your arrow at the eye switch and it opens the
Exactly.
door. You know, that,
Exactly.
that was our that was our Zelda. Yeah.
Yeah, but like Zelda now, even with how complicated it is, it's so simple to get into. Like I can
Yeah.
literally just do anything the fuck I want to do in Zelda,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's okay. You know,
Right.
so I don't know. It's going
Yeah.
to be interesting because I think out of all the game companies, Nintendo will be the last one standing if it was like
Definitely.
a
hundred
huge gaming
percent.
crash.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was gonna predict that console gaming was gonna go away, Nintendo would definitely be the last one standing. Because,
It-
like I was saying, like I think they are trying to build their own ecosystem. Like they don't care what Sony and Microsoft are really doing
and I
necessarily.
I think that's the best
Um,
way to go. And I actually
yeah,
like the console market when it was like that, when PlayStation and Xbox had very distinct markets. Like it was
yeah,
very, who they wanted to be, or they had their own ecosystem. And I
right,
don't know. Yeah.
yeah. No, I think it's a mistake too to ignore that market. It's not just kids we're talking about, right?
Yep.
It's potential
Grown
adults
people.
who've never played games before. How do you get them into video games? Because there's
Well, you
plenty
got a
of them
lot of
out there.
older
Yeah,
people. I think a lot of Gen X people, they're going to be going to homes and stuff like that, in the next 10, 15 years or whatever the case may be. And you will have nothing but free time.
probably not that soon. They're not that old, man.
Well, I mean, like
They're
the
in
older,
like the oldest ones. I think are in their 50s. Gen
no.
X.
Well, yeah, okay, you're right. You're right.
Because that like
Yeah.
the oldest Gen Xers are like early 70s, early to mid 70s. Maybe they were
Okay.
born. So that's like 50 years ago.
Yeah.
They're
So
not that old. Don't put them in homes yet,
no,
Montrell. God
I'm just
damn.
saying, a lot of them are about to enter homes,
Yeah.
and I think gaming is going to be one of their pastimes.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a lot of newer players from that aspect, and they're not going to have um the hand-eye coordination to do all the crazy building and not even building, but like the crazy eye coordination to play Apex or Fortnite. What are
Mhm.
the simple games for them to play? The easy new
Right.
games. And Nintendo's going to be right there. I can just play on my Switch in my bed, bro. I
Yeah.
don't need it. I don't need a fucking console. I got my Switch right here,
Yeah.
or Switch 2, wherever the fuck they come out with. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so I mean the only other thing we didn't really talk about was the 82% of American gamers made a purchase in freemium titles last year. 82% of them playing those games. Or no, sorry. 82% of American gamers made an in-game purchase in premium title. That means like anybody. That's crazy. So that is a very large amount, but it's kind of I mean, this is where we are, guys. Like, microtransactions have won. The toothpaste is out of the tube. We're not putting it back in. It's over, so not much more to say on that, in my opinion, unless there's anything you wanted to say on that specific
No, I
statistic.
mean,
But
that's kind of expected. I'm not surprised by
yeah,
that statistic at all. So
yeah, I think it's just the number, the size of the millennial segment was what. Yeah, that was the
yeah,
one that
that one
stood out to me
surprised
too.
me. I was just like, wow,
But it
like
kind of tells me that we're sniffing up we're like on the right track with what we've been thinking recently.
yeah.
Is that this market is kind of in an interesting place? Is that it might be kind of frozen? And Sean Layton actually is interestingly is somebody who's talked about that, is that he thinks the core gaming market is like 250 to 300 million people, and it's been that way for like 20 years, 20 or 25 years, and it really hasn't changed. You know,
Mhm.
you're just trying to sell to that same pie of people basically, for that entire time. So if that's true, like what we're talking about makes a lot of sense, that it's really like there's like certain generations that are really gravitated towards this type of activity, and younger folks aren't really getting into it, you know, as much. So
Yeah.
um, but yeah, no, that was a great conversation. That was very interesting to talk about. There's just a just a lot of interesting threads right now with video games. It's really in a really interesting place as the industry continues to kind of grow and evolve. At the same time, it's almost like they really need to think about their future, though. You know, not just
Yeah,
right, like how to make the most money right now. You know,
yeah, I think honestly, and this is gonna sound really bad, but I think it's up to the developers at this point, like the leaders of the development teams and stuff like that.
yeah.
They have to try to get back to cultivating a culture of video games, because as of right now, we don't. I feel like we don't really have a
Well,
culture of video games.
that is a great segue into our next news item because, to your point, we're going to get into this here, is that I don't think executives care, and they're the ones that make the decisions ultimately. So if we don't, if those of like us as fans, and then like you said, developers, the people making the games, don't create this culture, the executives aren't going to create it, right?
Yeah,
They're going to suck the video game industry dry for whatever they can, and then they're going to move on to a different industry because their skills, they're just trying to make money. That's their job, is to make maximum money, you know? So yeah, our next news story, this is from Wired. They did a huge piece on AI, and the title of the article is AI is already taking jobs in the video game industry. And this is an article, you know, I'm just going to reference pieces of it. I really suggest you guys go read the article. It is
please
very
read this
long.
article. Yeah,
It's extremely long, but I like recommend read the whole thing, because there's a lot of great info in here. It's very interesting. There's a lot of sources and whatnot that talk about this story. But the main crux of the story is Activision Blizzard is the company named in the article. Activision, specifically Activision, not the Blizzard side. There is a little bit on Blizzard, but Activision has been using AI apparently for a while, which not so. I want to preface this by saying I think you would probably agree with this, Montreal, is that this article is not surprising to me. Um, we didn't necessarily know this as like a fact per se, but this is definitely something I suspected at this point, that AI was
yeah,
starting to be used in this space, whether with all the debate about it or not. Executives are going to do what executives do, which is lower cost and try to make as much money as possible. So basically, the beginning part of this article talks about Activision using AI, and they used AI last year to make a skin pack, which was called, this was in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which was the Yokai's Wrath bundle. Apparently they used AI to assist in making this skin set, and they sold it in the game. Like, it's, you can buy it. And then there were the layoffs that happened in January after that. So the article goes into, though, a lot of the layoffs hit the 2D artists at Activision. Like, that team specifically got fucking gutted, and the ones that were left were being required to use AI assistance in order to make the art they needed to make. So this seems to already be happening in the industry, and there's a lot of anecdotes and other pieces from other companies, not just Activision, of people talking about AI being explored at their companies. Riot was mentioned in here. Blizzard's like building their own AI, like generative AI platform, to do stuff for their internally. They're not using the external ones. But this is something that's already starting to permeate into the industry and even being used on stuff that has been sold to us. You know, so um, Montreal, I guess. What were your kind of major takeaways here from this? Like, how do you feel about this in general? Because I don't know, I have a lot of feelings. I'll just let you go first, and I'll get into what I have to say afterwards.
So I think first of all, I don't think AI is inherently bad.
Right.
I think
I agree.
it can be used as a really good productivity tool
Hmm.
with limitations.
Yes.
I don't think it can ever replace a human's creativity. It can read all the data it wants to read,
Right.
but all it can do is replicate. Now, if an AI can create like actual like its own style, which maybe it could,
I think eventually
it's
it's possible. Yeah.
yeah. And I mean like because you can say like to a degree, a lot of people's styles are based off of other people's styles. So it's like we're built in AIs ourselves or whatever.
But at some point, somebody had to make the thing that inspired the entire line of people to where
Yeah,
we are today, right? So it
yeah,
was created from quote nothing at some point, right?
yeah. Because I mean, somebody can be like, well, technically, people copied off of Dragon Ball. All the shonen is nothing but Dragon Ball Z. And it's like, yeah, they took the tropes, but you know, it's different levels to it or whatever. Anyway, um, I think it's very interesting that they cut the 2D team because 2D AI is almost exclusively easier to replicate than 3D
The
AI.
article mentioned that. Yeah, right.
Um, and I feel bad for that team, like they got cut because now what does that mean in the future? Like all the UI stuff, like because I know what they cut because like you can get these little badges and like these little calling cards and stuff like that in Call of Duty. When you kill somebody, your little calling card can come up and it has animation and stuff like that, and it's like all 2D. Um, I think I think I think executives are messing with something that's going to come back and bite them in the ass in a really
They
bad
don't
way.
understand.
Yeah, and I really want people to slow down with the AI. Um, I think the legal loophole of like making your own AI, you're not using like Chat GPT or Sora or Luminous or anything like that. You're making your own AI, which means now if I was coming into Blizzard and I found out that they're using the AI, which means every piece of work that I work on, your AI is possibly reading my work.
Right.
Therefore, I can do a body of work in a year. AI reads it, and then you get rid of me, and then now you can make more
Yep.
bodies of work based off my art. I can't
Right.
say anything because I'm probably going to sign an NDA or something when I come on to the company saying, like, for instance, right? I'm not going to mention our job, but if we take a picture and they plaster our picture everywhere, we can't get compensated for that. Like that's like the first thing they make you sign when
Right.
you come on board. Um, and it could be the same thing to that degree when you come on board. Like it could be to the point, Justin, where it's like I can't even use my art in my portfolio anymore. Like that's how
Right.
bad it can get. Like because
Right.
artists, you can get a like pro tip, y'all. You can get a job without having a college degree in the art in the game industry. All you need is a really strong portfolio. And yeah, there are plenty of artists who got into the game industry with no college degree, or they came from like finance or something like that, and they were just doing the gaming art on the side, and then they got a job.
Right.
So, what if they have some kind of clause in there to where you can't do that? Because it used to be like when people would leave companies and stuff like that after the game was already created, I would go on like 3D artists websites and they're like, oh, the game's already out and the game's like 2 years old, whatever. And they probably left the company and like, here's all the work that I did. And they would post like screenshots from like, or not screenshots, but actual like raw models of like The Last of Us or something of that nature. I'm like, yeah, I'm the guy who designed Joel, and this is how I did it, and all
Hmm.
this other stuff like that. Showing off the portfolio, possibly getting another job. That's how people used to get jobs, like in the game industry, was like strictly on gaming forums, which just goes back to kind of like culture. Anyway, this AI shit can completely unravel that, and
Yeah.
possibly, in my opinion, diminish the quality, not only the quality of the games, but deter people from actually trying to work with you. And then you're just turning out the same game over and over again because the AI has nothing else to read.
Right. Yeah. I think executives are playing with fire here for sure. because what they see is a way to cut labor costs and get things out the door in a way that's acceptable to them. But what they're giving up is quality, number one, culture, number two, and just the soul of art is number three. Like that human touch is so important to art, dude. Like, and I think the idea that, AI can make art that we can't tell is AI art. Obviously, if this is true about this microtransaction cosmetic pack, nobody caught it here, right? And I
Yep.
did look at the pack, and like it doesn't look great, frankly, from what I saw of it, but it's not to the point that I would say it's like AI art, though. I wouldn't have guessed that without knowing it. So I don't think that element really matters, though, necessarily, because once you're doing it like enough, people will eventually catch on. It will get out in some way that you're using AI art. Obviously, it's getting out here, right? And they only did it like once that we know of. So I think it could erode business, though, for a company like Activision eventually, if your art is all done by AI at some point down the road. I don't know. It makes me wonder, how will people react to that kind of thing? Because there would be some kind of grassroots industry that would pop up where games would be made by without AI assistance, and they would put that on the fucking box, even though there's probably not a box. But they would put it on the marketing material for the game, though. This game was made with no AI assistance, or something like that. That would become a marketing point, and that very well might be sooner than we think. Um, to the point that I do wonder how audiences will react to this launch. Will they not care? They might not. Maybe they won't, and it'll be fine for a company like Activision. It's just, but as somebody who works in corporate right now and is in kind of middle management in corporate, and I get to interact with executives and kind of see their mindset, this is just very much in that space that I'm used to with executives, where they are obsessed with cutting costs. They don't necessarily care about quality insofar as it doesn't cost them any money. Like if it doesn't cost them sales, they will do the cheapest thing. Um, whether that's the right choice or not, even if doing something more expensive could have made them more money, they don't care. They would rather save the cost and accept what they have now.
Yeah.
So it's a very, I don't know. I don't even I wouldn't call it toxic or anything like that, but it's just that mindset that I think corporate executives have, where payroll is the biggest expense that any company has generally. Like it's the thing that costs you the most money, and any way to reduce that is going to be heavily welcomed by capitalism, corporate capitalist culture. So
Yeah.
AI being used like this is no surprise to me whatsoever. The fact that it's being used in the industry maybe more than we think, because there was a quote in here. They did a survey of GDC developers, and 49% of the surveys, 3,000 respondents said their workplace used AI. So that means this is already being pushed pretty heavily in the industry already.
Well, and read the second
Um,
part of that too.
yeah. And 4 out of 5 said they had ethical concerns about its use. And for good reason, because like we've talked about on the show, we don't have a problem with it being used as a tool, but the line between it being used as a tool and being used to replace people is very thin. Because
Exactly.
what they're going to do is have the generative AI make the art, and they're going to have a very small art staff on hand to touch it up, to make it look better, to fix the imperfections, the things that make it look weird, or make it obvious that it's AI art. They're going to have real people go in and make small modifications, but largely they're going to keep the AI art. And in that case, it's just, that's going to be way cheaper than having full art on staff and paying for full, pieces of art in games. So I don't know. I hated like reading this article. Really, like I said, didn't surprise me, but it sucks to read because um I think video games, you were saying it earlier, right? You made this point earlier in the last topic about video games being very corporate right now.
Hmm.
And this is just another example of that. And I think video games being corporate is the last thing that these companies should be continuing to lean towards, because this is an entertainment medium It's an art form. You don't want corporate running that kind of thing. Like we've seen what's happened with Disney in the TV space
Oh
and the
my
movie
god.
space. And
Yeah.
they're one of the most disgusting, gross companies out there. I want nothing to do with their content, bro. You know how much shit is on Disney Plus that in my head I've said, oh yeah, I kind of want to watch that, all these Star Wars shows and Marvel shows. And I haven't subscribed to Disney Plus once. I haven't had the desire to. I've never even gone and looked at it. Why? Because I can live without Disney's content. I don't really care that much. Like they're gross enough where I don't want anything to do with them as a company, really, generally. There's
Well,
very few exceptions to that. Like I'm probably gonna go see Deadpool.
yeah.
But it's in terms of their larger body of content, I'm not gonna eat it up like that though. It's just like they're not appealing. So it's like that same thing's gonna start happening in the game space. I mean, it already kind of is, but it's gonna happen to a more extreme degree. I do think like this is like going back to our previous conversation. Forget about getting people in, then there's the conversation about keeping people in,
Yep.
because it's very easy, I think, now after 30 or 40 or even some 50 years of games being created, there's enough games out there now where you could never play a new game again. Probably like me and you could probably never play a new game again for the rest of our lives, and we could play new shit the entirety rest of our life. That from the last 50 years.
And
It's like,
that's scary to me. Like, I mean,
but this is something that the companies need to think about: is how far is too far? Like, when does the line? When does this disgusting behavior get to such a point where it actually turns gamers off and they stop buying shit? I don't
well,
know.
I think one industry we can look at that they really don't care about,
Yeah.
where executives don't care about, is the music industry. Look how
Mm, yeah.
they
They gutted
spit
it. They
out
killed it, dude.
spit out these artists that try to make music, make their own music. I was listening to an album today, um, and it was such a '90s album. Like I was like, "Oh, this is such a '90s album," but it was so experimental at the time, and even now, I'm like, man, this would never be made today. And
Yeah.
it wasn't like a back in my day type situation. It was a genuine like I'm like this would not be made today because even the music industry is so corporate now. Like when you have a genuine song comes out that has genuine like thought and love into it, like people run it into the ground, not because like of corporate media or whatever the case, but people's like, this is a genuine song that I actually love and this is really good or whatever. Now people are making music for like TikTok and everything like that. But anyway, um, I feel like this is gonna tie into AI, but just work with me. I feel like I was thinking about it as we were talking, and I think the reason why video games feel different, and it's not because like I'm trying to be anti-capitalist or whatever. Like I like capitalism or whatever. I think regulated
Mm,
capitalism is good, so I don't want to be come
yeah.
out as a fucking communist or whatever. People listen to this or whatever the case might be. Um, but video games, as far as entertainment in the '90s and early 2000s, even to the late 2000s, 2010, 2015, rather, it was a counterculture to the entertainment business because it wasn't taken seriously,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Right.
And to see it now be the number one entertainment is wild to me
Yeah.
because it was the counterculture. It was the if you told somebody you were playing video games, you were you live in the basement with your mom. Like, dog, I have a house and a wife. What the fuck are you talking about? Back
Yeah.
then, right? Like in the '90s or
Right.
whatever, in the early 2000s, it was a kid like considered still a kid's thing and whatever, and whatever the case may be, and like people were freaking out over freaking Mass Effect when they had the lesbian scene, the gay scene. I remember
Oh
seeing
yeah.
that shit and people were
Yep.
getting mad about that or whatever. Like I said, it was a counterculture. And I may be like over exaggerating, but I compare it to like punk, punk and like death metal and all that stuff like that, and even hip hop, how it was the counterculture to what the music industry was producing at the time, and now that has become the music industry, and now that's corporate. You see what I'm saying?
Well,
And
and it's to the point that it had an extremely deleterious effect on the creators in that space, right?
exactly,
Like
yeah.
musical artists, they don't survive off anything other than like touring now.
Touring, no, yeah.
That's all they do is tour. Like that's how they make money. They don't make money off album sales. They don't make money off song sales. They don't make money off merch. Like it's touring, dude. You know.
And
And why
then
is that? Because these
streaming
corporate,
service,
these corporate entities though own their shit. You know,
yeah.
like you're tied to a label, and like you don't really own your own creations in that reality.
And
Like
I
they
know
killed their
people
own
would,
industry. And
yeah,
that's what this will lead to potentially. To your point, Montreal, is like you can go out like when you talk about the portfolio thing, that's exactly what that would be. Is they own the art that this AI creates, and this AI creates your art because you built it, you know?
exactly. Like, and then another aspect that's going to be killing the music industry, in my opinion, in like in the next 5 to 10 years, is AI. AI is literally making music that sounds like, and I don't even want to say better because it's AI, but it sounds like on par with artists or what some artists would kind of make or whatever the case may be. Like, have you listened to the AI country songs, the AI
Well,
rock songs, the
wow,
AI
I have
hip hop?
not, but that actually sounds not crazy to think about because music is very structured in the way it's built, you know?
Yep.
Like there are rules, you know,
Hmm.
to it. Like that's why you don't hear songs that are like you don't hear like off key shit happening too often in music. Because there's kind of a sequence that it has to happen in terms of the way you go from key to key, you know?
Hmm. Yep.
Um and if you can just teach an AI how to do that, that makes a lot of sense. It probably wouldn't be that difficult for it to make music, you know?
Exactly. And just like music as well, I think even more to a degree in music, each region has its own culture, and each genre has its own culture within that region. You have
Mhm.
Midwest punk, Midwest emo punk, you have Southern rock, you have East Coast hip hop, you have West Coast hip hop, and Southern hip hop, and all that. They all sound different, and then break it down by state. Florida hip hop may sound different from Texas hip hop. New York hip hop may sound different from Massachusetts hip hop.
Yeah.
Michigan hip hop sounds different from, Ohio or whatever the case may be. And you're sucking all the, like, that's why, in my opinion, a lot of people are listening to those type of things now. They're going back to like the roots of like where it
Yeah.
is, because
Right.
mainstream is just so mainstream. And I think video games, if there is going to be a huge crash like that because of AI, I mean, AI is definitely going to assist in this. It's going to have to go to the back to the roots, like the indie industries. I mean, we see that now, right? The studios are going to get smaller and everything of that nature, and it's going to have to survive that way. Um, and this AI shit, like you said, or like both of us said, with it copying people's work and everything, there's only so many storylines. Like if it copies Kojima's work for Metal Gear, right, and then Konami makes Metal Gear 6 or whatever, and it's like it's not gonna have that Kojima flair, like
Right.
I just use Kojima as an example. He made Metal Gear Revengeance 10 years ago, 11 years ago, I believe.
Mhm.
That game is just now becoming popular because people discovered the memes of it, and they're like, "Oh my god, this game's action!" And then obviously the action in the game is really good too. Um, but like there's so many quotables in there, anything, and even the game in itself is referring. One of the characters in the game refers to memes as the lifeblood of like whatever he's talking about or whatever. So like
Yeah.
the game is playing in on itself, and that's only something Kojima and his writers. Like I give his writers credit too. It's not just all Kojima. Like his writing staff does. And then even like Metal Gear 2, Metal Gear Solid 2 is referencing points of inflection right now in the political system, how everybody has their own little section of the internet that they go to, and they don't interact with each other, and it leads to a cesspool of misinformation and half truths and all that shit like that. Like an AI can't do that, bro. I'm sorry. Like you can't you can't do shit like that.
Yeah.
And um I I I don't know. I think executives, like you said, are just thinking about the bottom line. They're just thinking like, how can we get less people to make the maximum profit? And
Yeah. It's dangerous to
unfortunately,
do that here, dude. This is creative, right? This isn't like a factory, you know? Um, Using machines in a factory makes sense. You know, it's like those are repeatable tasks that are tedious, that need exact precision, you know?
yeah,
Um, it makes sense that a machine would do that. But with creativity, I mean, we're talking about making art, you know, music or images or whole games in a certain case. It's like you can't you cannot replicate the things that make that human, you know, with an AI. I just don't I really feel like you can't do that, you know? Because like unless the AI is capable of making coming up with its own ideas, which this is the thing, how can an AI do that? An AI like the creativity of something always comes from something you've experienced, you know, like some experience of yours. You don't just pull ideas out of your like out of your ass, dude. You know, it's like I just especially now in this day and age, you can't like even going back to the inception of things, right? The inspiration for art way back in the day when things were first created was probably something they experienced in nature or in their life at some point in some way. And that cascaded down over time where that became an inspiration for something else, which became an inspiration for something else to eventually get where we are now.
yeah,
And so I just don't. The thing is, AI is not being inspired; it's copying. You know, it's taking something and making some kind of variation of it, but you can never there's never going to be a way to prove that it can do it in a way that's like close to the way a human would do it, you know, because it happens all the time in games, right, where a game will be pitched as, oh, this is Overwatch, you know, let's take Overwatch, like fucking Concord, for example, right? This game is Overwatch with Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, it's like that's the pitch, right? And but people need to make the game, right? So you make
yeah.
it in a way that it's not either of those things. It doesn't look like either of those things, but they're obviously the inspiration. And there are times where that can be done well and that can be done poorly. And in Concord's case, it's kind of feeling like they did it a little poorly, at least on the aesthetic side of things, right? Um, AI is just gonna do it, and it's probably gonna be more on the Concord side, I feel like, than on the more positive side where people would actually receive it well. I don't know. I mean, as the technology evolves, this could change and it could be fucking amazing, right? And it could do it in a way that's like crazy and it's impossible to discern between it and what a human would create of the same thing. But um even if it does, I just there's just like a philosophical barrier that I can't get past with it, you know? It's like creating things is a human thing, you know? That's what humans do, you know? Like that's what art is. So I really understand when you hand that to a machine, like can we even call it art? You know? It's I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah,
a weird
no,
it's a
it is
barrier I have with it.
it is a weird barrier. I think so. Like if you listen to like Sam Altman and other AI creators and stuff like that, they're saying that their main pitch for it, right? And why we shouldn't be afraid of it is it frees up our time to do stuff. Um,
But
and
that's not
the
true. Like we have to make money, you
I
know?
I was just going to say that, right? So we have to make
Yeah.
money on top of that. And let's say in this perfect world, right? AI does free us to do other things. We can explore other avenues and everything of that nature. It's automatically making money for us, and
Yeah.
the whatever the case, whatever. Why is it attacking the art? Art has always been a freedom of human expression, in my opinion.
Mhm. Right.
Every culture, no matter where you come from, has like, in my
Yes.
opinion, beautiful art. Every culture.
Absolutely.
You can be the most racist person, like every culture has beautiful art. And um to take away that art, to me, is to take away the human spirit, in my opinion.
Right.
And
Right.
I feel like AI is taking away the human soul. It's trying to emulate it. and that's scary to me. In my opinion, that's scary.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. And when I play these games, I am playing it to experience the art vision, the vision of what this art team had put forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, whether it be Fortnite or League of Legends or whatever the fuck, or Call of Duty, I still have to respect it as a piece of art. It may be
Yeah.
trash art, but I still have to respect it as a piece of art.
Yeah.
Even with the artsy fartsy games, right? Those can be trash, but it's just like I still have to respect it and judge it as a piece of art.
Hmm.
Um, and to me, AI is, unless we get a sentient, conscious robot with its own rights, and we decide to give it its rights, it may never be art, in my opinion. So
Yeah. Yeah. There's one other thing in the article I wanted to talk about too. Is there's a mention of a AI game making engine called Brain Dump, where you can basically their pitch is that you can make games with a prompt, the way you would make images with like Chat GPT or OpenAI or whatever.
mhm.
um and the concept of this, like, I don't necessarily hate it in one regard, because it would enable people who can't make games to make games. But then you go, like I did, I went to their website because I just wanted to see, right? The fucking video on their website is showing, I'm gonna put this in the chat so you can go see this, is literally fucking an X-wing fighting TIE fighters with BB-8s rolling around. And I'm like, okay, like, why is this the video on your site? Like, you were just showing that it's just stealing ideas from other people, It's like, obviously they're not X-Wings and TIE fighters, but we know what X-Wings and TIE fighters look like. It's like, you can't really take that design and try to put it in something else. It's like, so that feels like a really terrible uh advertisement for your AI game making tool, is that it's gonna steal. There's like a Death Star in here. I see like R2D2. Like, what the fuck, man? It's so stupid. Like,
Yeah, I'm
I
looking
don't
at it
know.
now, and I'm just in pure disgust right now. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's like, like you're basically advocating that it's stealing from other people, essentially, to make your game. And it's like, I don't like. I wouldn't want to make a game that way if I were going to use a tool like this. I'd love to play around with it and like kind of get the idea of making something. Um, that would be great. But dude, not at the expense of like stealing shit like this. It's like, I don't know. It's
I don't know. It just, even if you want to make a game, right? I think anybody can make a game. You just got to put in the effort. And I'm
Yeah.
not, and I don't want to be gatekeeper or anything like that. But because I see tech bros say this stuff all the time. Like when they're creating these prompt engineers doing like Sora, and they're making these videos that look real. And off these prompts and stuff like that. I'm like, well, now anybody has the ability to do it. And it's like, should anybody have that power? Like,
Well, to that point, we were just talking about how there are too many games. This would enable many more games to get created. Do we
exactly.
really need that? I don't think so. So, as much as I personally, from my personal standpoint, as somebody who would love to make a game, would play around with a tool like this, at the same time as like from an analyzing the industry perspective, I think it would be very unhealthy for the game
Yeah.
industry to get games being created this way inserted into the space, into the market, because we would have another flood of games come in, and like, we don't need that, dude. We're talking about how overwhelming and how much of a barrier it is now to get into the industry, like to get into games and like find games you want to play. It's like, this would make it much worse. um so yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think it's like it's an insult as well to people who did not have a creative bone in their body that they really wanted to make a video game. There are plenty of indie games like that where I did not have a creative bone in my body, but I went out and learned it. And once I learned it, I created the game of my dreams. I want to say, I always want to say Undertale was made it that way, or other indie games that came out of the woodwork for people who had limited experience with video games, and then they just, because this engine was available and I learned how to use this engine, I created this game in this engine, and now I can create the game I want to play or I want others to experience with me, or whatever the case may be. And I think it's an insult to that industry, to like the indie industry and everything of that nature. I don't know. I just don't like it, man. I'm sorry. Like,
Well, has anything ever come out of low effort either? You know, like
nothing but
if you
triple.
aren't able to,
Like,
yeah, if you aren't able to put in like the real effort to actually make a game, um, I don't know, like that's just, I don't know. Is anything quality going to come out of something like this? You know, where you're just putting prompts in, it just feels questionable.
imagine if your magic cards are made with AI.
They probably are. They just we just don't know it.
Yeah,
Like
you're probably
I'm
right.
like they, dude. What I wouldn't put anything past Wizards of the Coast and fucking Hasbro at this point. Like I'm sure they've fucking done it because that's the biggest cost for them in making a Magic the Gathering set is the art for it, is making the art for all the cards.
Mm.
So you damn well know that they have been exploring this, trying to figure out how to fucking do this shit with AI, dude. You know, so that won't surprise me in the slightest. But I don't I don't know. It's a complicated subject, and it is one. I don't know. It just this feels like I don't necessarily. Again, I don't always want to like say the government needs to come in and oversee all this shit, but it's like, can we trust unregulated capitalism? Is really dangerous. You know, a lot of the reasons we're here right now is because of unregulated capitalism. You know, it's like a lot of the problems we have are because of that. You know,
Yeah, it's getting to
um,
the point where something has to happen at this point.
right? I agree.
Unfortunately, it is affecting our video games at this point. Um, to the point where the industry may become unrecognizable. Like, it's barely there in my opinion. But even to like the younger folks, it's going to become unrecognizable to them, and then it's going to be like, even they're going to be like, "What the fuck," you know?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know, man. It's sad.
Well, one of the solutions to this problem is our last news story for the day. World of Warcraft's developers have formed a union, and it's Blizzard's largest. It's got over 500 employees. It is the second largest in the Microsoft family for a union. The biggest one is in ZeniMax. I think it's 600 people. This is the second union being created in Activision Blizzard. The first one was a QA union that we did talk about on this show. Um, so yeah, they've unionized. This is a multi-department union too. It's not just one group. It's pretty much every dev team member. It sounds like has joined this union. And yeah, this is kind of the answer to AI, honestly, because this is what's happening in Hollywood. Is AI has been completely rejected in that space because it's fully unionized, you know. And the unions are the ones who decide whether they use AI or not the studios. So
Mm,
when you have that kind of power dynamic, the people who make the stuff get to decide if they want to use AI or not, and they're probably going to say no. So unfortunately, in games, it's the pretty much the complete opposite. But it does make me wonder. The adoption of AI could be a catalyst to get more people at more companies to start attempting to form unions. I could totally see that. But yeah, Montrell, World of Warcraft development team fully unionized.
nice. Yeah, when I read that, I was proud of him. I was also scared though. Like, are they just gonna fire them outright? I mean, they can't do it now, I guess, because of the union. But
No,
um,
it doesn't. Like reading the article, it really sounds like they were totally open to it. They didn't really try to stop it at all. They're which is funny coming from Activision, right?
yeah,
Like
exactly.
we think of them as so evil or whatever. I guess now though it's probably more Microsoft that is the main company thinking about it. But I mean, Activision's still huge. They have plenty of autonomy, I'm sure.
Yeah,
No, it seems like Activision's not putting barriers up against this, which is interesting coming from them. But it's also good if it can happen at Activision Blizzard. Then I mean, I feel like it can happen at any company in the game industry. You know?
Yeah, I think it needs to be a bigger thing. I know it was a wave like last year, and then it kind of died down.
Mhm.
But I think it needs to come back, and especially with the rise of AI, I think it definitely needs to make a comeback.
Yeah, yeah, um, yeah. And I do think we're gonna start seeing more of this soon, in more places in the U.S. because I feel like it's unfortunately I don't really know what other solution there really is for developers, because they just don't have any control over their creations when they're tied to giant corporate entities, um, and they need to have some amount of control. They need to say, right, because that not only will that protect them from things like AI, but it also probably will result in us getting better games. We might get better games. We might get some of that scope creep I was talking about might be reduced. Like I like do the game developers themselves really go into a game saying they want to make a 150-hour fucking game? I just part of me finds that hard to believe. you know that
Yeah,
that's like the desire of all these developers, but um so I don't know. I think it could be a positive thing for the industry. But anything else you want to say on that?
nope, that's it for me.
All right, Montrell. Well, that's it, man. We got through it. That's all the news we got for today. That is the show. Anything else you want to talk about before we go today?
No, sir. This was a longer episode, so I think I'm
No,
all talked
hey man,
out.
this is. I feel like this is one of our best discussions in a while, man. I
No,
really
it
enjoyed this
definitely
one.
was. Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah. No, I really enjoyed this one. All right, guys. Well, hopefully you enjoyed it as well. If you did, please like the episode, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you're listening to it on. And please subscribe to us on YouTube. You can check the show out on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube, um, or listen to it through YouTube as well. If you'd like to interact with either of us on Twitter, you can do so at I Trap for the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernut01, and the show is at the Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, like for instance, how you feel about AI being used in the game industry, or this your thoughts on the Wired article, or anything else we discussed today, you can send us a question to us on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that'll be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week. Bye.